AITA for telling my daughter her much older boyfriend isn't welcome in our home. My F48 husband am 46 and I have a 20-year-old daughter, Ellie, who is currently on vacation from college. About 5 months or so ago, Ellie told us that she had a new boyfriend who I'll call Tom. This came rather out of the blue as Ellie hadn't mentioned seeing anyone or that she was dating, but both my husband and I were supportive and happy for her. However, Ellie was strangely secretive about the whole situation. Usually, she's an open book especially with me and would always share details of her personal life. On this occasion, she wouldn't show any pictures, and we knew next to no information about Tom, other than that they met at a party through a mutual friend. Ellie spent the past month of her vacation in her college town and the plan was always for her to come back this weekend. Ellie asked if she could bring Tom with her for a few days of the trip as they were getting serious, and she wanted him to meet us. Although we mentioned that we knew barely anything about him, Ellie expressed that it would be a surprise and that we'd love him. Given he's clearly an important part of our daughter's life, we agreed and said we'd look forward to spending the weekend together. Yesterday morning, we went to pick up Ellie and Tom from the airport to drive them to our place and we were shocked. We knew instantly that Tom was much older than Ellie and he certainly wasn't a college student. I was just in a state of surprise but didn't want to cause a scene and told my husband to do the same. We drove home but it was a frosty journey, which Ellie commented on. When we arrived, my husband point-blank asked Tom how old he was. Tom said he was 44. I was immediately disgusted. He's only 2 years younger than my husband and old enough to be Ellie's father. My husband continued to interrogate him, asking how they met and the whole background. Ellie explained that it was at a party and Tom was there because he's well known around the town and they realized they had a lot in common and hit it off from there. I really didn't want to hear any more, and my husband told Tom to leave. Ellie shouted and said how unfair this was and we hadn't even given Tom a chance and that he made her happy. Tom could sense the tension so left and Ellie followed behind him. I texted Ellie to tell her we'd love to see her and to come over to discuss the situation. She asked if Tom was welcome, and I said he wasn't. Therefore, after labeling me a judgmental hole, she told me she wasn't coming and that they would be staying at a local hotel and catching up with friends. I feel terrible about the whole situation and don't want to lose my daughter over it. My husband isn't budging and says he'd have to be held back if he ever saw that man again. Am I AITA for saying he isn't welcome or have I done the right thing? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I had similar and my foster dad was what I believed, amazingly chill, about me dating a guy in his mid-30s when I was 19. I spoke to him over a decade later and he said he wanted to deck the guy, but knew if he pushed me then I'd dig my heels in and the relationship would go on far longer. Instead, he asked me to check in so he knew where I was and when I'd be back to make sure I was safe. He did however do other things to gently highlight the inequality of the relationship. For example, he'd make sure to say how nice I looked every time I left the house. The boyfriend would send me back to the house for not wearing makeup. It didn't take too long for me to put 2 and 2 together and realize the boyfriend was a control freak who wanted a trophy girlfriend. Commenter 2, NTA. He was at a college party because he's well known around town. That means he's well known for preying on younger women and probably also for buying alcohol for underage college students. Commenter 3. Play the long game here. Best story I have heard, the dad befriended the guy. They talked about stuff relevant to their age group, did dad-aged stuff together, talked about things like insurance and retirement and house payments, went out to eat at boring grown-up places instead of sports bars, and just generally acted like middle-aged men. She realized she was basically dating her father, they had almost nothing in common, and broke up. Commenter 4. NTA. Former cop advocate. I would suggest you don't give her a reason to distance herself further from you and your husband because Tom needs to stop your support and brainwash her to think you are against her and you're not. I encourage you to not exclude him. You can get together somewhere public so he's not in your home but you aren't letting him keep your daughter away while you navigate this precarious situation. All the best. Update. First off, I wanted to thank everyone for their comments and messages yesterday. I was overwhelmed with the responses and didn't expect my post to gain so much attention. I know opinions were quite split, but I appreciate everyone for being honest. Please accept my apologies for not responding to anyone, but there has been a lot on my mind so I thought it would be best to provide an update for those interested. For those who haven't read the whole post, a brief summary is my 20-year-old daughter, Ellie, brought home her boyfriend of 5 months, Tom, to our house. Tom happens to be 44, and my husband and I told Tom that he wasn't welcome in our home. Ellie and Tom are currently staying in a nearby hotel. I was incredibly down throughout most of Sunday, so I spoke to my husband and said that I really wanted to see Ellie. However, I knew that wouldn't be possible without also seeing Tom, so I mentioned to my husband about meeting Ellie and Tom at a neutral location for brunch today. I asked my husband if he wanted to join, but he said he didn't feel in the right frame of mind at this stage, so we agreed that I would go alone. I was anxious throughout the drive, but when I met Ellie, those nerves subsided relatively quickly. I was generally just happy to see her and that she was well. I still felt a bit uncomfortable around Tom, but I thought this was the opportunity to find out more about him and his intentions, as it were. We sat down and I tried to find out as much information about Tom as possible. When I asked him to elaborate on being known around a college town and being at the same party as Ellie, Tom said he used to go to the same college when he was Ellie's age, loved the place and decided to never leave. Throughout his time, he still frequented the main bars and places that college students do, which meant he remained in the community in some form. I found it quite an unsettling response but remained polite. In terms of other details I learned, Tom has never been married, nor does he have any children. He works as a software engineer and enjoys cooking and meditation in his spare time. Something felt off about him, but maybe I already had my preconceptions. Ellie spoke more about what a good match they were and how much in common they had. When I asked her to elaborate, she spoke about how they both love the same spots around town and campus with apparently the same love of sushi, and she's never met someone so mature and understanding. Tom also said that Ellie was perfect for him and he was serious. I probed if he'd had many other relationships with younger women. Ellie didn't enjoy this question, but Tom said that he generally didn't do relationships, yet something about Ellie had drawn him in. Eventually, after about 2 hours, we ended the brunch. Ellie said how nice it had been and she was so happy I had shown an interest in Tom before asking whether they could both come to dinner some evening. I told her that would be nice, but I would have to speak to her dad. Tom shook my hand and that was that. My husband remains reluctant, but I feel it's the right thing to do if we want to maintain a relationship with Ellie. I didn't like Tom off first impressions and this hasn't done much to convince me. Something is just off there and some of his answers solidified my thoughts about him not being right for Ellie. I suppose I'll have to remain open-minded but appreciate any thoughts. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Please make sure she's on reliable birth control. Commenter 2. It would be best to get some background checks done on this man. There could be a lot of lies involved, he sounds sketchy enough already. Commenter 3. Wonder if OP could call the college and ask if he is known there. Maybe get a gauge on him if he is. Commenter 4. I appreciate how hard you both protect your daughter. But at the end of the day, she is an adult and she can't make her own mistakes if she feels pressure from you guys to make decisions. Thing is, if she keeps pushing away because you guys are reluctant to let her be an adult all on her own, she won't come to you when she needs help either. If this guy ends up being a bad guy and she needs someone to be there for her, why would she come to you if she feels as though she's just going to be shamed? I would say an entirely different spiel if she was, say, 16 or 17. But she's an adult in college learning her way around this world, and she's gonna need support in controlling her own life without you directly deciding what she can and can't do. You said she was secretive about it from the jump and that tells me she knew your reaction. It's time to show her you can be a supportive friend when she needs you instead of an unsupportive parent. This was a good first step. Update 2. First off, apologies to everyone for not updating sooner and my lack of replies. I post and read everyone's replies and messages, but it's so overwhelming that I struggle to know who to respond to. However, a lot has happened in the past week and enough people asked for an update, so I thought I would provide one. For context, for those who haven't read the original post and first update, my 20-year-old daughter Ellie brought home her boyfriend, Tom, from college for the first time. He turned out to be 44, and it's been a huge shock to my husband and I. I met him without my husband and my daughter for brunch without feeling entirely comfortable about the situation, but my biggest priority is not losing my daughter. After I came home from brunch, I spoke to my husband about the possibility of Tom and Ellie joining us for dinner one evening. My husband was completely against it, but I told him that if we still wanted to exercise some degree of control over the situation before we pushed Ellie away entirely, this was something we had to agree to. It took a lot of convincing, but my husband agreed and we invited Tom and Ellie to come round the Saturday just gone. Before then, I ended up talking to my oldest daughter and Ellie's sister, Holly 23, about the situation. Holly was shocked and Ellie had told her nothing. Holly decided to do some social media digging but struggled because Tom didn't have much of an online presence. She said she was coming to dinner on Saturday, although I was reluctant because it seemed like it would spiral. I eventually said yes. So, we get to the dinner on Saturday, and Holly just continually grills Tom. It was far, far worse than I did. She asked him if younger girls were his type, why someone his age is still hanging around at college parties and other small remarks. Ellie told her multiple times to leave her alone, and I tried to act as a mediator. My husband was just silently seething, and I could tell how uncomfortable he felt in Tom's presence. Eventually, Tom and Ellie said they had some big news to share. Ellie announced that she and Tom were planning to move in together for the upcoming college year. I almost spat my drink out. Ellie had planned to live with other friends, and when I questioned this, Tom answered that he realized that he probably won't have another long-term relationship. Ellie makes him so happy, and he doesn't want to waste any time with who I want to be my wife and the future mother of my children. At this point, my husband lost it and told Tom to get out of his house. Tom stood up and seemed affronted, and Ellie started crying. I couldn't remember the last time my husband had shouted like that, and I think it surprised Ellie. Holly said it was deserved and said she needed to get away from the pedo freak. It all ended up with Ellie leaving in tears with Tom, my husband going upstairs, and I was just inconsolable. I've reached out to Ellie since, but she hasn't responded. I don't want her to move in with Tom, and it seems he's trying to derail her whole life. She's 20 and does not need to be married and have kids, especially with someone his age. She's never had a relationship before though, and she appears infatuated to the extent she's not going to listen. My husband has told me that if Ellie marries Tom, that is it, and he wouldn't want a relationship with her going forwards. I can't agree with that and will always love Ellie, but it doesn't mean that the whole situation hasn't made me incredibly sad. I would appreciate any advice. New update. AITA for telling my daughter her much older boyfriend isn't welcome in our home. For those who don't want to read the whole post, the long and the short of it is Ellie is engaged and pregnant. The engagement happened around January, after only around a year of dating, and the pregnancy was announced in March. Ellie is keeping the baby and is due late this year. I'm still heartbroken and struggling to come to terms with the whole affair. Ellie was so bright, cheery, and with an active social life. Now she lives with Tom in her college town despite having dropped out of college herself due to the pregnancy, with barely any friends due to most of them distancing themselves from her because of Tom. My husband is also low contact with Ellie and wants nothing to do with Tom, while my daughter Holly also feels the same way and wants nothing to do with Ellie or her baby for as long as she remains with the predator. I still keep in contact with Ellie as much as I can, not only because I love her but also as I know that if things crumble, she'll have no one to turn to. She's ostracized herself, which makes me incredibly sad, and I never thought things would turn out this way. There was a glimmer of hope around March time, where Ellie called me on the phone in tears after discovering that Tom had cheated on her unsurprisingly, with another college student, and an even younger one than Ellie. Although I did try and talk some sense into her and figured this would be a wake-up call, she decided to stay with him after a combination of love bombing and finding out she was pregnant. The wedding has been set for next summer so the baby can be focused on now. My husband and other daughter have already decided they won't go, and many others on my side of the family are uncomfortable with the idea. I'm trying to stay strong and hope I will love my grandchild, but this isn't something that will ever get easier. If there are any other groundbreaking updates, I will try to share. If not, I appreciate everyone's support and advice. It really meant more than you know. Stories number 2. AITA for sending my brother a $12,000 bill after he borrowed my car and wrecked it on a joyride. I 28F have been saving for years to buy my dream car, a fully restored 1967 Mustang. I finally bought it 8 months ago, and it's basically my baby. I barely even drive it because I want to keep it pristine. Last weekend, my younger brother 24M came to visit. He's always been the fun sibling, life of the party, always pulling stunts. I love him, but he's impulsive and doesn't think things through. I went to bed early Friday night because I had work the next morning. When I woke up, my car was gone. I called him and he laughed and said, "Relax, I just took it for a spin." Well, turns out that spin involved racing some of his friends down a back road. He lost control, went into a ditch, and smashed the entire front end. The repair estimate came back at just over $12,000. Insurance won't cover it because he wasn't an authorized driver. I told him he had to pay for the repairs. He said he doesn't have that kind of money and that it was just a stupid mistake. My parents are begging me not to make him pay because he's struggling financially and family comes first. I didn't listen. I had a lawyer draft a formal repayment agreement, and now my brother is furious. He says I'm ruining his life over a car and my family is calling me heartless. I told them that if he'd owned up immediately and offered anything toward fixing it, I might have let it slide. But the fact he stole it, wrecked it, and laughed about it? No. So now there's a huge rift in the family. My parents say I'm overreacting, my brother says he's cutting contact, and I'm sitting here wondering if maybe I really am being petty. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. Your brother didn't just make a mistake, he stole your car, drove recklessly, destroyed it, and then laughed about it. The $12,000 bill is the direct consequence of his choices, not you being heartless. Family doesn't mean enabling someone's irresponsibility, if anything, holding him accountable might be the only way he learns. Reply. Exactly this, thank you. I think what's frustrating me the most is how my family is framing this like I'm punishing him for just a mistake, when in reality, it was theft, reckless driving, and zero remorse. If I'd done something like that to his property, I'd fully expect to pay for it. I'm not trying to ruin his life, but I refuse to let him think there are no consequences. Commenter 2. You're not petty at all. This wasn't borrowing, it was theft followed by reckless endangerment and zero remorse. If your parents think family comes first means you eat a $12,000 loss so your brother can keep being reckless, that's on them, they can cover it if they feel so strongly. You're protecting your property and your boundaries. Reply. Exactly. Family comes first shouldn't translate to you have to fund his irresponsibility. If my parents feel that strongly, they're more than welcome to cover the cost themselves. I'm just tired of being made the bad guy for not wanting to lose thousands of dollars over something he chose to do. Commenter 3. So by fun sibling you mean the sibling that never faced consequences? NTA. It's time he deal with the repercussions of his actions. Reply. Exactly. He's always been the fun one because everyone else ends up cleaning up his messes. Honestly, this is the first time he's actually had to deal with the real consequences of something he's done, and you'd think I'd committed the crime with how my family's reacting. Commenter 4. NTA. I'd sue him for the damages and press charges for theft. Stories number 3. AITA for wanting to take a promotion even though my boyfriend says it's not the life he imagined for us. I recently got offered a pretty sweet promotion at work. It means more responsibility, a bigger paycheck, and honestly, it's something I've been working toward for a while. I'm excited and ready to step up, but when I told my boyfriend about it, things got complicated. He wasn't thrilled. He said that this new role would change our lifestyle too much. Like less time for chill weekends, more stress, maybe even less time together. Basically, he painted a picture of me turning into a workaholic who forgets how to relax and, more importantly, forgets about us. I get where he's coming from. Relationships do need time and effort, and I don't want to lose that. But I also can't just put my goals on hold because he's uncomfortable with change. I tried to explain that a promotion doesn't mean I'll drop everything else. I'm not about to become a robot who only lives for work. Plus, this opportunity feels like a big step for me personally and professionally. He keeps pushing back, saying he wants a simpler life, maybe less ambition stress, and worries it'll hurt our relationship down the line. Honestly, it's frustrating because it feels like my growth is a problem for him. So now I'm stuck wondering, am I the jerk here? Should I just say no to this promotion for the sake of keeping the peace? Or is it okay to want more for myself even if it makes my boyfriend uncomfortable? I love him, and I want us to be happy, but I also want to feel proud of what I do and not hold myself back. What do you all think? AITA for wanting this? Comments. Commenter 1. Would he put his promotion on hold for you? You would regret it if you did. NTA. Commenter 2. Doesn't sound like he has ambition to get a promotion. Commenter 3. Yeah, the ambition stress sounds like he's stressed out that OP won't find him ambitious enough, and like he's afraid that others might give him crap if OP is bringing more financially to the relationship than he is. Update. After posting, I sat down with my boyfriend for a proper talk. Like, no TV on, no phones, just us. I told him point blank that this promotion is important to me, and that I don't see why building a future together means one of us has to shrink our goals. I also made it clear that while I value our relationship, I can't promise him a low-stress, small dream life just to fit into what he imagined. He admitted he was scared not of me working more, but of feeling left behind if my career moves faster than his. That honestly hit me harder than I expected. I told him that's not my plan, but I can't stop my own progress out of fear. In the end, I accepted the promotion. He said he's willing to try and support me, but I can tell he's still uneasy. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt for now, but I also promise myself that if this becomes a constant battle, I'll have to reconsider the relationship. The way I see it, if someone loves you, they should want to see you grow, not keep you small. Comments. Commenter 1. I knew it. That little weasel wants to hold you back so he can feel good about being ahead of you. It was never about you and all about him. He's going to try. As though he's doing you massive favor. He should be celebrating with you. Reply. I get what you're saying. I don't know if I'd go as far as calling him a little weasel, but yeah. I definitely felt that this was more about his own insecurities than about my actual job. I wish his first reaction had been excitement instead of worry, but at least now I know how he really feels. I'm hoping he steps up and proves he can be genuinely supportive, because I'd rather have a partner who celebrates with me than one who keeps me second-guessing myself. Commenter 2. The issue isn't so much the strong knee-jerk reaction he had about the promotion or of him feeling jealous. Jealousy is normal reaction to have, it's human. Saying it out loud might not paint yourself in the best light, but if you don't talk about it and where it's coming from, you can't get over it. The issue you have right now is that he's told you he's jealous, but he isn't proactively trying to work through it. He's not trying to make any amends for the hurt he's caused. He's not asking you what you need from him. He's not working on a plan for himself to move forward. He's not doing anything. My guess is that if you're about to be on the receiving end of several passive-aggressive arguments, he's going to do things to try to guilt you. He's going to claim he is being supportive but you're just not happy with it, and he's going to say I do try. I am supporting you, it's just not good enough for you. His entire approach to this situation is akin to a child. He's throwing a tantrum and upset. You need to pay close attention to his behavior, words, and tone. Do not let him try to dim you and your success. This could have been an opportunity for him to celebrate you. This could have been an opportunity for him to look at his career progress and take notes and inventory of where he wants to be versus where he is and move forward for himself. Good luck. I hope you see progress from him. Progress with his words and actions to prove he is worthy of you. Stories number 4. AITA for leaving my boyfriend's birthday dinner when his ex showed up and he acted like it was totally fine. I didn't think I was the jealous type, until last night. My boyfriend 28M and I 27F have been together just over a year. Things have been great overall, a few ups and downs like any couple, but nothing major. Last night was his birthday dinner. His friends, family, and a few co-workers were there. I showed up excited, gift in hand, ready to celebrate him. Then, 10 minutes into the dinner, his ex walked in. Not just someone he dated ages ago. This is the ex he told me broke his heart 2 years ago, the one he admitted he would have married if things had worked out. I froze. I looked at him, expecting at least a heads up, but nope, he just smiled at her, stood up, and hugged her like she was an old friend. He even pulled out a chair for her right next to him. I was across the table. The whole time, they were catching up, laughing, making inside jokes. I feel invisible. She touched his arm when she laughed and he didn't move it away. I didn't want to make a scene, so I just sat there, barely eating. I keep telling myself I'd talk to him after, but I could feel my face getting hot. Eventually, I just said, I'm heading out, have a good night, and left. He later sent me a text claiming I embarrassed him and ruined his birthday by being petty and insecure. I told him that I would have dealt with the whole situation differently had he warned me beforehand that she was going to be there or sat me beside him. He says it was, for him too, a surprise, but he didn't want to seem rude asking her to leave. Comments. Commenter 1. He handled it extremely poorly. He clearly is still not over her. While it would have been rude to ask her to leave, it was disrespectful to you to hug her, seat her next to him and give her his entire attention. I would have left too. Then, instead of apologizing to you, he chastises you for being upset with his behavior. He is not a keeper. I am sorry. Edit to add, that wasn't you being jealous. That was you being humiliated. Reply. The way he hugged her, sat her next to him, and ignored me the whole night was too much. Leaving was the only way I could keep my dignity. Commenter 2. You excuse yourself from a situation that you were uncomfortable in. NTA, you were setting a boundary for yourself and upholding it. I couldn't even imagine. He was a jerk, who invited her anyway. Reply. I still don't know who thought it was a good idea to invite her, but the fact he acted like it was no big deal was the last straw. Commenter 3. Info. If there was an available seat right next to him, why didn't you just sit beside him to start with? Reply. I was gonna sit next to him, but his mom asked me to switch so his grandma could get to know me better. I didn't want to make a fuss in front of everyone, so I agreed. Stories number 5. AITA for kicking my friend out of my pool party after she pushed someone in. I 29F hosted a pool party last weekend. It was a mix of close friends, co-workers, and my boyfriend's buddies. I made it clear in the group chat beforehand, no pushing people into the pool, not everyone was bringing swimsuits, and I didn't want anyone's phone or electronics ruined. Enter Maya 31F, a friend I've known for years. She's fun, but she can get a little too wild at parties. About an hour in, everyone's hanging out, eating, chatting. Out of nowhere, Maya sneaks up behind my coworker who was in a sundress and holding her phone and shoves her into the pool. The phone? Dead. The coworker? Humiliated, she didn't even bring extra clothes. I immediately told Maya that was completely out of line and asked her to leave. She laughed at first, thinking I was joking, but I was serious. She got offended and said I was overreacting and killing the vibe. Some people at the party thought I was too harsh since it was just a joke and phones can be replaced. Maya hasn't spoken to me since, and a couple of mutual friends are saying I ruined the party energy by making a scene. But I feel like I set a clear boundary, she ignored it, and someone got hurt and lost a phone. AITA for kicking her out. Comments. Commenter 1. Nua, nta. It's stupid behavior anyway, but you set rules. So also disrespectful to you. Commenter 2. Phone can be replaced by Maya. Reply. Honestly, that's exactly what I'm thinking. The way Maya's acting just doesn't add up, feels like there's something she's not telling me. Commenter 3. Phones can be replaced, they cost a small fortune. I sure as hell don't have an extra grand or more to drop because someone is acting like a middle schooler. Pushing people into pools isn't funny or acceptable in the modern world. She owes your coworker a new phone. Stories number 6. AITA for refusing to stay at my fiancé's parents' house for 4 days after our wedding. I'm getting married to my fiancé at the end of December. We're going to be having 2 events, the first one in my parents' city where most of my family is, and the second one in his parents' city where most of his family is. After some brainstorming, the 2 of us decided on our honeymoon destination. Today, as we were meeting for lunch, my fiancé, who was handling the honeymoon logistics, told me the itinerary. I noticed that there were 4 days between the event in his parents' city and when we leave for our honeymoon. When I asked, he said that won't we be staying for a bit at his parents'? I asked why, he said since we won't get to see his parents and relatives that often this was a good opportunity. I was like, why use our wedding, something we're planning on doing once, for this? Also, those 4 days were coming at the expense of possible honeymoon days. He mentioned that some of his relatives coming from other places would also be staying at his parents' house, we might never see a lot of them ever. To me that just made it worse, to have to spend 4 days right after the wedding at his parents' house, full of his relatives including children. I became a bit angry and said this was ridiculous, please change the honeymoon itinerary to the day after our wedding. He was reacting as if I was being ridiculous, that he'd taken so much care in setting up the itinerary, and he seemed hurt that I was dismissing it. I said I appreciated how he'd been handling everything, but those 4 days would ruin the vibe for me, so please do this for me. He said there's still a lot of time, that the changes could be made once but not again and again, so let's wait and see if we feel the same way later. I agreed but said I was 100% sure my feelings wouldn't change, which he didn't appreciate. We're okay, and we're not discussing that right now, but I wanted to know AITA. Comments. Commenter 1. Who the fuck wants to spend their honeymoon at their parents' house with a bunch of relatives? That is the most unromantic situation you could possibly come up with. Absolutely ridiculous. Ask your fiancé if he is okay with not getting laid for a week after the wedding and see how he feels about it. NTA. Commenter 2. Him for planning that without discussion. You for acting like his family and related children are the plague. I assume he has good relationships with his fam and was excited about getting to spend some time with people that are important to him. Especially since he doesn't see them often. It was wrong for him to make a unilateral decision that cuts into honeymoon time without a conversation, but your attitude about it just stinks. This obviously means something to him, and while a magical honeymoon is rad, family doesn't live forever. If you can afford 2 weddings and a honeymoon, you can afford to take another vacation for just the 2 of you later. Maybe try a compromise where you spend 1 to 2 extra days visiting and not 4. You gotta give a little too. Commenter 3. NTA. For days in a house with extended family between the wedding and the honeymoon would, as you say, ruin the vibe. A lot of people would feel that way, you're not weird. Commenter 4. Could you compromise by getting a hotel in town for those 4 days? You'd have some privacy and space while still getting to visit with his family. Reply. I could. And I think he might be up for it. But if I'm being very honest, I want to be on our honeymoon, not just entertaining relatives and friends of his at our hotel though. Although yes, that would be better than being at his house, I guess. Stories number 7. She, 20F, lost her virginity while we were taking a break. We've been together for 4 years. At the beginning, like all teenagers do, we also fooled around. She was genuinely turned on and wanted to do stuff, but we never got to penetration. We were both virgin and to her, virginity was always the best thing she can give me, it's the only thing she can give only to me in the whole life and to be honest, that's why I, 21M, didn't push for it at all and wanted to take her pace. Around 2 to 2.5 years ago, things started to cool down. She no longer wanted to do it, referring to touching and oral as often, and a year ago she started pushing away even though I would ask twice a month when I was sexually frustrated. I really loved her, and I still do, and I think she is smart, intelligent and beautiful, and that's why that wasn't a deal breaker for me. 2 weeks after our 4 years mark, she said she felt trapped and that she wanted to take a little break from our relationship. I was crushed because I didn't see this coming at all. Her trapped definition was that she felt bad going to concerts and doing stuff without inviting me, and to be honest, I always encouraged her to go with her girlfriends and have fun. I have a feeling she trapped herself. I think she just wanted to take a break and couldn't come up with a better reason, or the real reason was offending to me, or she just lost attraction, although she denied it. We talked it through and we decided that we will take a break and she will call me once the break is over. She was supposed to move in with me in May. It took a toll on me, I performed bad at my work and I was distant from my family. I was crushed and I hoped she would come back and that we would cry together, agree it was a mistake and move on. Well, after around 3 weeks, she messaged me and said she wanted to talk. I was so excited and I invited her to my house. When she arrived, shortly after, she basically broke down crying, saying she met a guy, 23M, 2 weeks ago and that after 3 days they slept together. She said she tried to connect with him but it wasn't nearly as fun as with me and that she wasn't sure why she wanted to take a break from me in the first place. Now, I consider myself 7 to 8'10", I am tall and work out semi-regularly. She assured me that it wasn't my looks. She said she wanted us to be together again and that she would do anything to earn back my trust and make me happy. The guy she slept with was 10'10" and a lot of muscle, although I didn't know him or anything about him. This happened yesterday. I am broken. I couldn't come up with words and just said it's gonna be okay and later politely asked her to leave so I have time and space to think. I can't help it but feel like a backup plan. She sacrificed our 4 years together and basically made me a fool for waiting for sex and thinking that I am something special for her. It bothers me so much that she was ready to fuck some guy, less than a week after we broke up. Even if we get back together, am I supposed to have sex with her now or what? I will provide more information if needed, but I am really struggling for some advice on what to do. TLDR, girlfriend wanted a break and during the break she lost her V-card. Now she wants to get back together. Relevant comments. I initiated many times, well, I tried. I would set the mood, I would do all the things she liked me to do, I saved up for a trip to the sea, oh brother trust me I gave my best to make her feel wanted, beautiful and sexy. I would always be welcomed with I just don't feel ready yet, I am not ready and I don't want to do it while drunk. Last time I tried to initiate was on our 4-year anniversary and I was met with not yet. Also, I don't care that much about virginity, it's the situation she herself set up. Virginity was overrated to her, yet she gave it to somebody else. Commenter 1. Assuming this and not fake, I am curious why she told you she had sex with this other man. Would you have found out? Reply. I asked her this and she said I would have found out sooner or later and she didn't want to continue our relationship being scared of will I find out today or tomorrow. Also one of her reasons was that it was a big mistake. There's also a reason that I am kinda ashamed to tell. Commenter 2. Yup, this right here. Especially that she was with you for 4 years and gave it up for the first time to some random stranger she just met. Chances are she's lying and she met this guy before the break and wanted to fuck him. She saved you the trouble, man. You'd likely end up getting married at some point. She'd end up cheating later. This is a big thing for a lot of people and she gave it to someone else. Break isn't for fucking others. So she cheated. Nah man. You need to ghost her. Hit the gym. Focus on yourself. Don't be a sap and take her back. Respect yourself. Commenter 3. Yeah, so the guy fucked her and dumped her, now she wants to go back to you. Classic. Commenter 4. She went out and got some strange while she had you as a backup at home. I'd forget her and move on. Commenter 5. This is always what a break is. It's cheating with a technicality as an excuse. OP, she knew this guy before your break, she wanted the break because she wanted to fuck this guy knowing you take her back if she wanted, which is exactly what is happening if you take her back. Commenter 6. She held off from having sex with you for 4 years, yet losing her virginity to you was the most important thing she could give you. She asked for a break with no solid reasoning behind it. In my opinion, she probably had already met this guy before the break with every intention of fucking with him. She fucked him, but obviously it wasn't working out farther than that, and now she wants you back like she didn't just slap you on the face with that disrespect. You have to realize your self-worth and see that this girl isn't anyone you want to waste any more time on. Move on, my guy, and let her live with her fucked up decisions. Commenter 7. She has probably been cheating emotionally or physically on you for a while before that break. Run as fast as you can. This girl will only lead to pain, depression, and drama. Final update. Hey guys. First of all, thank you all so much for your responses, it really did affect me. So, long story short, 3 days ago I broke up with her for good. Now, you guys might not agree with the way I did it, but I did not want to have revenge sex with her, or hurt her ego. Even though I am sad and disappointed, at the same time I understand she wanted to see other options and I respect she didn't outright cheat on me. That being said, I am also not a backup plan and I deserve to be someone's first plan, someone that will make love with me and not consider it a godly gift to me. I didn't see her anymore and I finished it with a message. Here's a translated version. Hey, name, first of all, I don't want to hold you in suspense, so yes, this is my final breakup message. I took some days to think about it and I realized that if we did continue where we left off that the other guy would be in my head non-stop and I would always be paranoid of you doing it again when you get bored of me. I understand we were and still are young when we started our relationship and that you wanted to explore other options and gain experience. Sadly, in that process you lost my trust and hurt me greatly. I respect you wanted to take a break instead of cheating on me, but that still doesn't make it justifiable. I wanted to thank you for all those years and I wanted to apologize for any wrongs I did to you. I want you to know that I am not mad or sad and that my head is the right place. I hope that going forward you will be okay too, and please don't punish yourself for what you did. Goodbye, Op. The message was supposed to be stronger and stuff, but I realized I am already getting over it and that I no longer see the point of putting more effort and thought into it. She replied with an equally long message saying she is sorry blah blah blah. So, thank you guys for opening my eyes. If it weren't for you, I am almost certain that I would accept her back. So yeah, until next time. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Stay strong, man. I think most self-respecting guys would have done the same. There will be other women. Commenter 2. Your response was ridiculously mature. Good on you, pal, you'll be fine. Commenter 3. Happy for ya, brother. Now comes the hard part. There might be times when you'd miss her and want to talk to her. But you need to understand that feeling like that is normal, but getting back together is not the solution. Stay strong. Reply. I know that time will come. I sometimes find myself stuck when I find a meme and want to send it to her, or when I get some gossips from work and I can't share it with her. Not gonna lie, I miss what she used to be. But I will get through it. Commenter 4. Good on you, man. The message you sent her was hella mature and you deserve better. Reply. I find it so funny you used hella and mature in the same sentence, rolling on the floor laughing. Thank you so much. Stories number 8. AITA for having no sympathy for my 37F husband 33M after he begged me for years to sleep with another man and now he's upset by it. Been with my husband for 12 years and pretty much from the start he told me he has a fantasy to watch me sleep with another man. He isn't the first man to ask me to do this. You'd be surprised how many men ask women to do this. The thing is though, my husband can be a little bit insecure to the point where I told him a year after we got together that I was thinking of leaving him because I can't deal with his constant questions of who someone is and how I know them every time they comment or like something on my socials. Or every time I mention someone at work he'd start making passive-aggressive comments. He got better and said he realized how much of a contradiction he was being. Mostly his insecurities have calmed down with the odd flare-up. About 3 years ago he really ramped up the asking me to sleep with another man. He'd mention it at least once a week and tell me which of his friends found me hot and stuff like that, and he'd talk dirty while we had sex about me and other men. About a year ago I caved a little and said as a test I'd start posting revealing pictures on socials and see how he handled it. So I started posting gym selfies and outfit pics of me wearing very revealing clothing. Then when we went to Ibiza I sunbathed topless and even posted a picture on my socials where it was obvious I was topless and captioned it, "Men don't like tan lines, do they?" He passed all these tests and never once reacted negatively. While in Ibiza we went clubbing and he watched me dance with other men and seemed like he really enjoyed it. Around 6 months ago I said okay but made him sign a piece of paper, obviously not legally binding but just trying to get it into his head that this can't be classed as cheating, it is a sex game to fulfill his fantasy. He said that all types of sex are okay and nothing is off limits and he will choose the man, so I can't be accused of any sort of cheating. He said he was fine with this. He's a big man, 6 feet 4 inches and goes gym nearly every day. He chose a little skinny guy, 5 feet 5 inches, and not a bit of muscle on him. Anyway, tale as old as time, he wanted it, got it, and now isn't happy and is upset. He says I enjoyed myself too much, it was obvious I preferred the sex with the other guy, I was louder and gave him head longer, etc. etc. There's been numerous complaints. I've just shut him down every time and said I told him this is how it was going to go and he didn't listen to me, and I showed him numerous posts on Reddit of this exact thing happening. Men begging, their wives giving in, the men can't handle it and they blame the wife. I said that's not me, I'm not taking any blame. I did exactly what I was told to do. Sleep with another man and put on a show and act like a porn star. I did that, I held up my end, he isn't holding up his end of either enjoying it or accepting he asked for this. He's saying I'm being an asshole by showing no understanding or, in his words, taking accountability for my actions. He said if I knew this was going to happen I shouldn't have done it and should just keep saying no. It's like an adult who would purposely put his hand in a lion's cage and then crying it's been bitten off. AITA. Should I be more understanding? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA, and also this would be a huge red flag for me about the relationship in general. He broke your trust. Reply, I'll be honest, it is really bothering me. Commenter 2, so you know he was a deeply insecure man and considered leaving him the past before it. You researched it and showed him numerous accounts of how men regret this. Don't like it, makes them even more insecure. You then post a series of tests that aren't really the same and he passes. Then you sleep with a man not of your choosing just for him. And he doesn't like it, just like he has never really gotten over any of the above. At what point are you going to give yourself the self-respect of not putting up with his behavior? Reply, I am getting to the stage now where I'm realizing the bad far outweighs the good. Commenter 3, his fantasy stems from his insecurities. You did nothing wrong, but your husband can't handle what he asked you to do. I'm all for consensual kink, but there should be zero pressure from either side. If I were you I'd be pissed that he pressured me and then got mad when he got what he wanted. I'm sorry, but that's some BS. Reply, I agree, which is why I say it's all his making. Seeing someone not take responsibility for their actions is very off-putting. Commenter 4, wasting 12 years on this man is the real crime here. Like he showed his hand from the jump, so please tell me he's either rich or amazing in bed. Like I want to know what's the pull towards him. Reply, he was a genuinely good man in all other aspects, very romantic, split the housework, hard worker, extremely caring when I was ill for a year, but it felt like this was just an itch he needed to scratch and it was becoming all-consuming. Update. A lot of the comments on my original post opened my eyes to the fact he was setting me up to be the bad guy and not enjoy myself to make himself feel better. Unfortunately his plan backfired as I enjoyed myself very much. I was leaning very heavily towards leaving him, but last night he asked me if he could pick someone else for me to fuck and we can try doing it again. I lost it and told him to get out my house and never come back. I've never been so angry with someone. He's messing with my head and that was the final straw. He's at his parents at the minute. I look forward to him telling everyone I cheated, face with rolling eyes. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, oh. He's an asshole. I just read the other post and obviously he's convinced himself that he's a bull and now his fragile little ego has been shattered. Cucks enjoy being cucked, he wanted his imagined prowess vindicated and can't handle the fact the smaller guy was better. I'm sorry, but I think therapy is the only possible savior at this time, he will swill on it forever otherwise. Reply, no therapy. I'm done. Commenter 2, NTA, but wow. He wanted to selfishly fulfill a fantasy only to have it backfire on him, and now he's but hurt. Too bad. And yes, do pass that form along to anyone who comes after you all bothered. Reply, I have the form and screenshots and even videos of the night with him directing me and telling me what to do if he wants to go that route and badmouth me to people. Commenter 3, maybe warn him that if he dares breathe a word about infidelity to anyone, you will go public with everything, hopefully, that will shut him up and save yourself the public embarrassment. Reply, no, I'll let him bury himself. Commenter 4, did these kind of requests go through texts? If so, send anyone going after you for cheating those texts. Nta. Reply, I've got hundreds of text messages. I've got the messages between him and the man on the swinging site. Got videos of me and the man and my husband telling us what to do, plus my husband doing something which I'm not going to go into detail about here. Stories number 9. AITA for demanding my kids back immediately after my parents left them with strangers at a campground without telling me. My parents were watching my kids 6M and 7F for a few days, Sunday till Wednesday, while my partner and I were working. They were staying with my parents at a camping ground in another city 120 kilometers away, about 75 miles. On Monday, My kid's grandpa had a sudden medical emergency and had to be taken to the hospital. During that time, my kid's grandma left our kids in the care of two of their camping friends, let's call them M and S, for about an hour. We learned about the medical situation on Tuesday afternoon. While we receive a lot of pictures of the kids on Tuesday morning, my mom assured us everything was going fine, and never mentioned the hospitalization. Here's the problem: we don't know M and S, and my parents never told us this happened. We only found out over 24 hours later, when I started asking specific questions about who was watching the kids during the hospital trip. When I confronted them, they said it was a force majeure situation and assumed we'd understand. I told them I would have understood if they had told us at the time, but finding out afterward meant that if there had been an emergency, we wouldn't even know who had our kids. When asked how long our kids were in M and S care, they kept downplaying it, first saying about an hour, later only 5 minutes at the hospital. When I told I wanted the kids back immediately, the emotional pressure started. Don't do this to your kids, they'll be so sad and you'll ruin their fun. I told them to stop the emotional blackmail and that we wanted the kids back. They refused at first, saying they'd bring them back the next day as planned. I warned that if they didn't return the kids that night, I would contact the authorities. Only then did they agree, and we picked up our kids that evening from the campground. We don't own a vehicle, so we had to take an Uber to the camping ground, which cost us over $300 Canadian. Not a problem, my kids' safety is far more important than $300, but still, it carves a hole in our budget. Now they say I overreacted and hurt the kids by ending the visit early. From my perspective, they violated a major boundary we had already discussed in the past and withheld important information for more than a day. AITA for insisting on getting my kids back right away instead of letting them stay one more night. Edit, typo. Edit 2, added the age of the kids. Update, just called my dad. He's still in hospital, we're waiting test results. He might have a surgery to install a pacemaker tomorrow or Saturday. He's doing okay in the circumstances. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, even in an emergency someone should have taken a few minutes to let you know who had your children. Leaving them with strangers has consequences. Commenter 2. Soft white A. It sounds like they were in a difficult situation with a medical emergency and took reasonable steps to manage the situation and ensure everyone was safe. I agree that they should have been informed immediately, but I don't understand why you got so very upset. It was an emergency and your mom probably had a lot on her mind while dealing with your dad at the hospital. I would be annoyed with my parents if this happened with my kids. I would not be outraged and I would not be removing the kids from their care in a huff. So why did you freak out so much about this? Is it because your parents have a history of being reckless and endangering your kids? Or do you have a tendency to freak out over everything and that is why they downplayed it after the fact? Only you know the answer to this. Commenter 3. YTA. You paid $300 to Uber to a campsite to get your kids when they were being returned the next day just to make a point about them being left for approximately an hour with people your parents knew so your dad could urgently go to the hospital. Did you even ask if your dad was okay? Jeez. ETA, 2 edits and no mention that the medical emergency was her dad having a heart attack, info buried in the comments. Wild. Stories number 10. AITA for believing my daughter over a grown man. I don't know if I watch too many crime shows or if I'm just paranoid, so I've come here to ask. Last week I made chicken gnocchi soup. When it was almost done I started helping my daughter with a school project. She got us both a bowl and a few seconds later my BF runs into the room with a bowl and tells me to eat the bowl he has. I told him it was all the same and he insisted that he wanted mine because it had more chicken. Thinking back now I don't know how he would know that considering my daughter dished it out. My daughter took the bowl he gave me and said she would eat it. He yanked it out of hand and said no, it's for mom. I took the bowl and he went to the living room. I continued doing my daughter's project and told her not to eat the soup. 20-ish minutes later I walked into the kitchen to pour the soups out and he was still eating his. He asked why we didn't eat any and I said the cat got into it while we were waiting for it to cool down. He screamed, "What? Was it your bowl? Cats can't eat that." I told him it was only a lick, but he has been stressed out watching the cat like a hawk, obsessive even. His reaction was very weird. These accidents all happened before the soup incident over the span of 6 months. It wasn't one after another in a short period of time. Since then my emergency money has gone missing. I keep money hidden just in case. I lost my older sister because she wasn't able to escape a dangerous situation and I literally swore on her grave I would never be in that position. After the soup incident I went to get my money and it was gone. It was hidden and I changed the location every few months. I asked my daughter if maybe she found it and that if she took it I wouldn't be mad because I knew she couldn't have spent it. She said no. A few hours later she tells me she forgot, but the other day her and my BF got pulled over and she saw my pink wallet in his glove box. I did not tell her which wallet it was in or that it was in a wallet. I decided to ask him if he found it by accident. He asked me why I was hiding a large amount of money, you know you could never leave me, and laughed. He has never said anything like that before. I told him it was for my daughter's Christmas. He said no, he didn't find the money but could use his credit card for gifts. I didn't tell him about my daughter seeing my wallet in his car. Now here are a few other things that have happened in the past few months that seemed random at the time but now they don't. I have a severe allergy to latex. One day we were about to have sex and I glanced at the mirror we have by our bed and saw the condom wrapper was a different color. I stopped him because it wasn't latex free and he said it was a mistake and just an older one he had. We have been dating for over 2 years and he knows how serious my allergy is. My EpiPen that I keep in my room is missing and I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it was missing until I was searching for my money. Another odd thing is one day he was following me down the stairs while I was carrying laundry and he kicked the back of my leg and I fell. He said he slipped but the stairs are wood and he was wearing his steel toe boots. At the time I thought it was an accident. Am I overthinking this? My anxiety has been at an all-time high. Do I watch too much true crime? Here is why I think I might be the asshole. We have a good relationship. He loves my daughter like she is his. We split all shared bills and we both pull our own weight around the apartment. We don't fight. He has never so much as raised his voice at me. We are paycheck to paycheck but bills are paid. I thought about going to my mom's house for a few days and asking him when I get there when I'm safe about the money, but I don't have money to do that now. She is on a fixed income and can't help. I feel stupid for being scared. Last night I decided to check his car for my wallet and he caught me. I asked him for my money back and he tried playing dumb. I told him my daughter saw it there. He told me she was lying. I told him I never told her about the money or what wallet. He said he was a grown man and kids lie all the time. I asked him once more for my money and he said I'm not giving you money to leave me. I waited until he was in the shower to grab my cat and my daughter and we left. I can't take my cat with us to a shelter and the DV shelters are full. I was able to get us a night at a cheap motel. This exact situation is why I had money saved. I did everything right and now I'm screwed. I feel like I just blew up my entire life. Yes, I'm using a burner account and reading all the comments that I can. Update. My post got a lot of attention and my account was shadow banned for a few days. I was able to appeal and get my account back because I'm not a bot or some AI. Now for the update. The day after we left he sent me a picture of my EpiPen and tried telling me it was in my nightstand the whole time. I tore that room apart looking for it so I know for 100% fact it wasn't there. He took it. He tried getting me to come back telling me I scared myself stupid and watched too many true crime TV. Something didn't feel right so I told him to put my money and EpiPen in the mailbox. We went back and forth and he denied having my money. He then said if we broke up you and Maria my daughter are no longer allowed in my apartment and will be treated like trespassers and sent me a pic of his target practice sheets. I went to the police about the money and was told it was a civil issue. I was upset but wanted the rest of my stuff so I asked for an escort. Yesterday I finally got an escort into the apartment with a cop and my landlord. He destroyed everything of my daughter's and he ruined the laptop charger I use for work. No EpiPen. My daughter's medication and backup medical supplies were ruined. Our landlord let me off the lease without having to pay an early termination fee, which is great considering I have no money. Motels are expensive. I don't want to get rid of our cat. All shelters are full and this is scary as shit. I'm sorry this is a shitty update but I know people wanted it. Update. On Saturday, December 9th I went back again. This time I printed out the threatening text messages that included the target practice sheets he sent. I explained in detail about the accidents proving he was trying to hurt me, and I even had my landlord put in writing that he believed our lives were in danger after seeing everything I was showing the police and let me leave my lease early. I brought in the destroyed medical supplies and medications. The police said they had already talked to him and said he didn't do any of it. He told them my daughter probably destroyed her stuff because she is special edition. She has very mild Asperger's but doesn't destroy things. Since it was his word against mine they believed him. I didn't have proof he stole the money or that it even existed in the first place. I was told the AP pen was my responsibility and they won't do anything if it's lost. I was told to let it go and acted like I was bothering the police with my petty civil issues. I am so defeated and angry. My daughter isn't going to have gifts for Christmas because I have to save for a new deposit on an apartment. We have been staying in motels while I was reaching out to DV resources. I can't get help without a restraining police report. Every place is out of funds. He is getting away with everything and I'm so glad we got out because there is no doubt in my mind he would have gotten away with my murder. I know this sounds like my last update but that is what happened, nothing new. No justice. No repercussions for him. He gets to stay in the apartment. My landlord offered me another unit across town but I can't afford to move in. This exact situation is why I had money stashed away because no one has ever cared about me and I knew that. There is nothing else I can do. Editor's note, OOP posted in another sub with the exact same information as above and no new update. However, she did add this clarification about shelters. All shelters are full. I found an organization who helps DV victims with housing but only if you have a police report and a restraining order. I guess they are tired of victims going back to their partner, safety reasons, or something. I was denied a restraining order because I had no proof. I'm scared, exhausted, and disappointed. Update. I thought we were safe. A lot of people wanted an update so here it is. On Christmas he slashed my tires knowing I would have to pay out of pocket to replace them which I don't have. Today he threw a heavy patio chair through the window of the place we were staying at to let me know he knew where we were and I was asked to leave for everyone's safety. Except my daughter and I aren't safe. I walked in the sleet with my daughter and our cat and I felt vulnerable and like open prey so we came back to the police station to sit in the lobby until morning. Shelters are still full and I now have to disclose that he is dangerous anywhere we go. Police couldn't find him but I know he has to be close. I don't know what his end game is. Update. I found the air tag in the cat carrier. Please read my other posts for more context but a TLDR, I'm pretty sure my ex is trying to kill me. There were a few instances that I wrote off as accidents until I think he poisoned my soup that was specifically for me. On Christmas he found where we were staying and slashed my tires and threw a heavy patio chair and planter through a window. He still hasn't been caught. I checked everywhere I could think of and still couldn't figure out how he was tracking us. I blocked him on everything including email after he sent me pics of his target practice sheets among other things. I got a cheap burner phone. My daughter was out of school for winter break so he didn't follow her or anything. I checked my car for a tracker. Still nothing. I do not have an iPhone so I couldn't check whatever app a air tag is attached to. My cat is harness trained and wears a collar but there was no tracker. Until today I decided to feel up sorry only way I can describe it the carrier. I ran my fingers over every inch of it and felt a bump on the bottom soft side. There was no new stitching or obvious cut. He had to use a seam ripper along the stitching. It was undetectable and I almost missed it. He had to have had help because I've never seen him sew anything. Probably the same person who is letting him hide now. If his excuse for the air tag was to track my cat he would have put it on his collar or harness because that is what he would wear when we go on walks rides. My cat would never go in his carrier unless I was planning on leaving for more than a few days. I have no idea how long it has been there nor do I know how far the tracker works but now we aren't safe where we are, again. I feel disgusting and I feel like hunted prey. This is so unnerving and I'm so uncomfortable. Who the fuck was I living with? Update. I finally got the restraining order. I'm hoping this update will make everyone as happy as it makes me. I was finally granted the restraining order. And we get the keys to our new apartment on the 11th. A place I can afford monthly and comes partially furnished. It's in a super safe area right by my daughter's school. There is security. We will spend our time living in our car until then and of course it has to be snowing but we are together and we have our kitty. This nightmare is almost over. Update. A restraining order didn't stop him. This morning he found me. I've been sick as hell so after I dropped my daughter off at school I went straight home. I didn't drive around to make sure no one was following me. I messed up. He broke my nose and shattered my orbital bone. He is in jail. Sorry for this update y'all. Update. Not being able to move even if my life depends on it. I know the importance of having money saved and I live within my means. How many of us is one disaster away from losing everything? A fire, job loss, a bank screw up, a late paycheck, illness, or someone stealing from you. I had money saved because I knew that any one of those things could happen and I wouldn't have anyone who could help me. And it did. 2 months ago my ex tried poisoning me and stole the money I had saved. It's been hell since. I was able to break my lease and leave. I went to my mom's over Christmas break but I came back because I didn't want to disrupt my daughter's schooling and I underestimated my ex. I was able to get an apartment through DV services very quickly, which was a miracle. I know how hard it is to find housing and then try to come up with all the deposits a new place needs. I did it, the cards fell in my favor. But then I fucked up. On Friday I took my daughter to school and wasn't diligent. I will usually drive around to make sure I'm not being followed. To be honest, I started feeling crazy, paranoid, and angry I was wasting gas. Plus I have pneumonia and strep that I haven't been able to pay for the antibiotics, so I just went home to my bed. He found me and broke my nose, shattered my orbital bone, and I have a concussion. I had a restraining order and he was arrested. I shared this on another sub and everyone telling me to move, leave, run. Except I can't do that. It's hard trying to explain that to people for them to understand because it sounds like excuses, like I like living in fear or something. I can't pull money out of thin air. My credit card is maxed. I contacted DV services at the hospital and because I just got help, I can't get it again. The thing I didn't know about abusive men is that they don't just move on or stop. There are DV shelters but they are full. I wish people would understand that I know how serious this is, but money doesn't grow on trees. Even if a life depends on it. Update: he was with me to get to my daughter. It all makes sense now. If you need more context, please read my past posts. In my first post I said how we had a normal relationship and he was never abusive, controlling, never raised his voice. The money that he ended up stealing was money I had hidden since before he even moved in. I was not hiding money to get away from him. I was not afraid of him. I lost my sister to DV and swore I'd never have that happen to me, only to end up in that exact situation. We didn't have this spectacular love that was filled with insane chemistry, nowhere near a love of my life situation, which is why I was so confused by how desperate he got. After he got arrested, his mom went on a social media rant because I got her baby locked up and knew we were sleeping in my car, so was telling her followers that if they find me to call her. Very bold and insane. One of my ex's friends saw this and commented, "Idk, if you should be sticking up for him, he needs serious help." I don't know how I caught it before it was deleted, but I reached out to him on my fake Facebook. Every time they were drinking he would talk about her and then laugh it off. It made his friends uncomfortable, but they chalked it up to the booze. 2 weeks ago when my daughter came to see me in the hospital, she was distraught. It made sense because I looked like hell, but she kept repeating over and over, asking me why he did this to me. I think there was more to this and I'm frightened to my core. Remember, he stole my AP pen and money, but he destroyed almost everything of hers and I didn't understand it because she had nothing to do with the breakup. Why did he destroy her medicine? Why did he destroy her clothes? Fucking why? Don't abusers threaten their victim into not saying anything or something is going to happen to someone they love? I'm sick to my stomach even writing that out. I don't know where to go from here. How do I even begin a conversation about this with her? We are safe. I'm not worried about him finding us because he is still in jail, which is great because I'm out of money. He wasn't desperate and crazy because he was losing me, I think it was because of her. Update: my ex is getting bailed out tomorrow. I'm so angry and scared. I wish I had faith in the justice system and with cops because they are supposed to protect, right? Except that isn't always the case. I'm tired of being hurt and I'm tired of being scared. Anxiety is on 100. It's exhausting fearing my daughter and I's life. Update: how can I feel safer at home? I know a lot of people are following my posts and will be disappointed in hearing that my ex was bailed out. I'm still healing from when he broke my nose and shattered my orbital bone. I know a restraining order is just a piece of paper because he ignored it when I was attacked and the police aren't going to save me. For security I only have a door bar that slides under the knob. I don't have a Ring camera and I can't buy a pew-pew until I have extra funds. He made me sell it a year ago because he was uncomfortable with it being in the house. Another red flag I missed. My question is, what can I do to feel safer that doesn't require money? Every night my daughter and I push the couch in front of the door, but I'm worried that if there is a fire we can't get out. I have myself worried sick to the point of painful stomach ulcers. I tried talking to my nearest neighbor, but when I started explaining my situation and how it would be great if she could let me know if she sees anyone around my apartment, she got weirded out. Which I get. Just looking for some peace of mind. Will that ever exist in my life again? Update: AITA, or was this just a mistake? I know this is all I post about, and if you want more context you can read my past posts. I feel like I need to tell someone what is happening so that it makes it feel real and that I'm not just upset and crazy for nothing. My ex got out on bail last week. My daughter and I already left the new apartment we had moved into after he attacked me. My daughter's school knows about my situation and knows I have a restraining order. Today my daughter got a call from the front office at school. The secretary told her that the pickup car had changed from mine to a new car. She was being told this so that when school let out she wouldn't get upset when she didn't see my car. The new car is the same one as my ex's. It is a rare car and she told me she knew it was his car. She didn't say anything to the secretary or her teacher because she was instantly scared. It breaks my heart that she was in fear because she thought he had got me and was going to get her. She was given the message hours before school let out, so she spent all that time worrying. The last 10 minutes of the day is when the kids can use the bathroom and clean up. She started crying in front of her whole class, and when the bell rang she refused to leave her classroom. I was in the carpool line when I got the call from her teacher. I have never seen her so upset, and that is saying a lot because she was so upset when she visited me in the hospital. Face beet red, hyperventilating, snot everywhere, she had cried so hard she got a nosebleed. After they told me what happened I was livid. It all sounded like bullshit because the secretary never should have relayed the message without talking to me first, since she said it was a male on the phone. As soon as the secretary looked my daughter up to find out which room to call, she should have seen the message I thought I had saying no one should ever pick her up but me. No information should ever be released. He was never in contact with her, so it's not that big of a deal. It was a mistake is what they told me. All he had to give was her full name and what grade she was in to get a message to her. They said that to me with a straight face, while the bruises he gave me were very visible, proving he is a violent man. I'm so fucking angry. She told me she knew I didn't get a new car because as much as I try to hide it from her she knows I'm broke. She thought she was going to have to go with him. She has been so traumatized and I don't know what to do. She wants to switch to e-learning, but since it's not a medical reason and not a school-wide restriction I would have to pay to rent the laptop. Which I obviously can't. The school is calling it an innocent mistake and didn't even apologize. I know I'm the only one responsible for my daughter and I's safety, but damn if people could stop jeopardizing it like it's nothing and then acting like I'm the asshole for being upset because it was a mistake. He wasn't there after school, but he could have. Update. I've had a few people asking, so I wanted to update. I can now confidently say that my daughter, Kat, and I are safe and will continue to be from here on out. I can start rebuilding without fear. I'm not okay, but we are safe. Update. I've spent the last 4 months running for my life. I just want to say that if anyone is going through something similar to me, you can vent to me. This is something you have to experience to understand how hard it is. I know there are DV resources, but they are extremely limited. I had someone on here checking in with me, and when I explained what was going on I was asked why you aren't stable yet, and it kinda took me off guard. Only a few people knew I was pregnant through this. I left my home with basically nothing and went to a hotel and he found me. I went to another hotel and he found me. I went to a safe house for 2 nights where I was asked to leave because my ex was dangerous, slept in my car with my daughter, went to my mom's out of state, came back to my home state because that is where DV resources helped with the apartment. He followed me back to my apartment from my daughter's school. I was hospitalized when he broke my nose, shattered my orbital bone, and gave me a concussion. I had to leave that apt, back to hotels and sleeping in my car, and finally back to my mom's. So much money feels wasted. I have the opportunity to be added onto her new lease, but it's a bigger unit and requires a first deposit, impossible unless I rob a bank. The pet deposit is already paid, but I only have until the 1st or we are back to living in the car because we have exceeded our visitation days. A year lease where my rent would only be $500 a month, utilities maybe $150. I'd be saving so much money and be able to rebuild my life. We would all have our own rooms, which means privacy. Even though we are all female, privacy is precious. I haven't slept in a bed since the hotel beds, but even then it wasn't my bed. It's been my car, hotel bed, or the couch. Even when we were briefly in our new place I still slept on the couch with it pushed against the front door. I know all my posts are about the same thing, one thing after another, and yes, it is exhausting and repetitive, but think about how I feel. I'm desperate for stability and I can't get it because he took so much from me. It wasn't until I was out of our house and away from him for me to see how much power he had over my life. It's embarrassing. Even if I have to go back to living in my car, I'll still be around to talk and I'll still be optimistic because I deserve good things to happen to me that aren't only in my dreams. Clarification on the air tag. There was Someone helped him put one in my cat's carrier because he knew if I was going to leave, I'd never leave my cat behind. Update. The vet gave my abuser my location. I want to say this was a genuine mistake and not done with malicious intent, but I still need to vent about it. Just like my daughter's school letting my abuser give her a message, this was an accident, but accidents put my life in danger and I'm exhausted. I post about my situation a lot, and despite a few users thinking my ex would find my Reddit, I'm not worried about that. However, I am terrified of him knowing where I am. He has gone through a restraining order, police don't scare him, and when he got arrested he will just get bailed out. I knew the only way I could live a normal life was getting as far away from him as possible, so I took my daughter and cat and moved in with my mom a few states away. I was 100% confident that he didn't know where I was because they never met. We were actually estranged for a few years before my ex and I even got together. I started feeling safe. I stopped jumping when I heard loud trucks. I was starting to get comfortable even though not a lot of time had passed. A few days ago my cat's back legs stopped working and he lost control of his bodily fluids. I was working but my mom rushed him to the ER vet. There were questions she couldn't answer, so they asked if he was chipped. He is, but I changed my number a few times lately so one of the two numbers was out of service, so they called the second one. I forgot to remove his number. I know this is my fault. The vet called him to get information and he didn't give any information and hung up on them. The receptionist said he called back about 5 minutes later and said, I know she doesn't have money. Tell her I'll save her cat if she comes home. He knows how much my cat means to me. He found me the first time I left because his mom helped him sew an air tag into the lining of the cat carrier. He knew if I was to ever leave him I wouldn't leave my cat. One time my ex threw him out of the house to hurt me while I was at work. He refused to leave the porch. My ex then tried squirting him with a water bottle, and when that didn't work, he sprayed him with the hose. He basically got waterboarded and still would not leave. He is my sole cat. When I got to the vet and they told me what happened, I had one of the worst panic attacks I've had in a while. I've had my cat for 10 years and he has never gotten sick or injured. He has a UTI and a fractured foot from falling. The vet thinks he probably got his foot hurt first and that led to the UTI since he wasn't using the litter box. I noticed he was slightly limping a few days ago, but I couldn't get him into the vet yet. The UTI developed quickly. I was naive in thinking the vet would save a pet's life even if the owner can't pay up front, but it isn't like a human going into the ER. I've spent so much money and time trying to get away from my ex while also trying to live a normal, safe life for my daughter. Once again something happens and he now knows the city we are in. I'm not running again because I can't. I don't think he will drive up here because, like I said, I'm a few states away, but man, did this bring back my paranoia and irrational fear. I changed the chip information but the damage is done. I was a fucking idiot for not doing it sooner. This is my fault. I'm so damn tired. Update. My daughter told me she hates me. I post a lot about my situation but I haven't been totally transparent about everything. I'm not fully processing everything, so I thought letting a bunch of strangers know is somehow therapeutic. A year and a half ago my sister died. She was sick with pneumonia and by the time someone realized she was sick it was too late. She was non-verbal and the nursing home she was at was neglecting her. It's almost too much to even try to talk about because I feel like I failed her. Last November my Grammy died. Everything good was because of her. Then my boyfriend tried poisoning me and all the innocent accidents I was having finally made sense. Hiding my AP pen and changing out the condoms that I was allergic to, accidentally pushing me down the stairs, finding my emergency money and stealing it so I couldn't leave. I have many posts about him. He took a leave of absence from his job so he could literally hunt me and my daughter down. 3 separate times he found us and each time the consequences got worse. Concussion, broken nose, shattered orbital bone, broken teeth. I was going to go back to him because I couldn't afford to live without him and I was pregnant. I get a lot of backlash for constantly posting about what my ex did to me, but this is the only way I can talk about it. I figured as long as he didn't hurt my daughter it was okay. Then came the I don't know how to tell you this message on Facebook from one of his friends, Josh. He was obsessed with my daughter and would constantly tell his friends I can't wait until she is 18. I knew I had to leave and stay gone, so I moved a few states away with her and my cat to my mom. Josh kept my ex occupied for 2 days to give me enough time to get away without worrying about being followed. 3 days ago Josh died in a car accident. I so badly want to pay my respects at his funeral. Hug his mom and look her in her eyes and tell her that her son literally saved us. But I can't. Not only can I not afford to go, but I know that if my ex sees me he will not hesitate to end my life. I am not exaggerating or being dramatic. There is no well maybe he wouldn't do anything, or it's been a few months he probably moved on, or I doubt he is going to risk his freedom killing you. He will. My aunt died on my birthday in June. My soul cat had to be put down. I miscarried. Another friend died in August. This all sounds very extreme and like a bad country song or something, but I've been taking the lows with the hope that things will get better. Last night my daughter wanted to use her DoorDash gift card she won from the library. I didn't know a picture was taken at delivery until I saw it. I look so bad, it took me by surprise. My arms and legs are nearly the same size. I look like a skeleton. Pale and sunken in. This is the worst I've ever looked, even when I had my severe ED, if I just never noticed or didn't care to acknowledge it. The only clothing I have is winter clothes, so I am always covered up. My underwear started getting baggy, but I thought it was because they were old and worn out. I keep coming up with an excuse every time something goes wrong, or I tell myself everything is fine, just keep going, but it isn't okay. A DoorDash picture is my wake-up call. How pathetic. I'm not handling things as well as I thought. To top it off, today my daughter said she hated me. She has never said anything like that before, but I get it. I uprooted her from the only life she ever knew. Her entire summer consisted of going to the library every day so I could work. I wanted her to do e-learning instead of going to school in person because I knew there were going to be things that she wanted to do but can't. I know how selfish that is of me. Her homecoming is this weekend and I had to tell her she can't go. I sound like a broken record, but I can't afford it. I'm starting to hate myself too, so I don't blame her. I know life will go on and she will have other dances, but trying to get her to understand is hard as hell. Living is hard as hell. Final update. I've posted updates since my OG post, but here is a little TLDR of everything that has happened since I left. He hunted us like animals and he had help doing so. I had to break 2 different apartment leases after he found us. He went through restraining orders. I was hospitalized twice after he got violent. We slept in the car on and off for weeks after leaving. Was asked to leave shelters for the safety of everyone else. I eventually had to flee the state after he started targeting my daughter at her school. My mom and cat died. In March of this year my daughter got MSA down to the bone in her left foot and had to amputate it. She bravely testified against him, and some of the things that emerged were things she hid from me. He is a monster. She is probably going to have to do e-learning again this year, but this time it isn't because I'm scared he is going to find her. He stole my safety nets and I haven't been able to recover. On July 6th our apartment flooded and is a total loss. We lost everything we had. He completely ruined me, but knowing he is going to sit and rot in a prison in Indiana for the next 12 years brings me so much peace. Last month he was sentenced and justice was actually served. I know my situation isn't unique and I know firsthand how hard it is to leave and stay away. I should not have made excuses for the red flags and should have left sooner. I still get messages from women saying they would never leave their partner for their kids. Although no one in his real life believes he belongs there and thinks I'm the horrible one who ruined his life, I am not the asshole. Comments. Commenter 1. Is there any way you can bring a civil suit against him and get some financial compensation for what he put you through? Reply. He has court-ordered restitution to my daughter and I as part of his sentence. Just waiting is the hardest part. Stories number 11. AITA for telling my dad's wife she screwed her kid out of grandparents. So my 20F dad is with his affair partner Laura. He and Laura have a kid, Lucy 13F. Lucy was conceived after my dad and Laura were already together a while. Her birth wasn't the reason my parents split, in case anyone is wondering. But obviously my dad's family knew about the affair once my parents split, and they banned Laura from ever attending family events. To this day the only people on that side of the family that have met her are me and my one cousin who came to stay with me at my dad's for a few days one time. My grandparents told Dad they'd happily be active in Lucy's life, but it would have to be Dad that facilitated the relationship, meaning he'd have to bring her to see them alone. Laura said no. I guess she thought eventually she'd force herself into the family through Lucy, but all it did was mean no one ever met Lucy. My dad would take me to my grandparents' or aunt's place without Laura and Lucy, and that was just how it went. Well, it recently came up that my grandparents were giving me money towards buying an apartment when I graduate, which set Laura off. She's always been bitter that my grandparents financed my schooling but my dad paid for university. She was passive-aggressively grumbling at the dinner table that this is why she felt we could have asked them to pay for my university and that it would be nice if Lucy got to have grandparents, but some people are petty and cruel. I looked at my dad like, are we really playing that game? But he didn't say anything. Then Laura turns to Lucy and goes, you should know none of this is your fault, life isn't fair and you got the short end of the stick with certain family members. So I just said yeah, the short end of the stick family member is you, Laura. Lucy could have had the same relationship with my grandparents that I do, but you were so selfish that you screwed your own kid out of that. Laura argued that no one who hated her could have a relationship with her daughter, so I was like, well, what are you mad about then? That your principals ended up sabotaging your kid? Maybe that's on you. At this point my dad was giving me a death stare, so I just went back to my food. Laura sent me a text later that night about how much she didn't appreciate me saying that in front of her child and that it was her prerogative how she managed that relationship. She also said my dad's family are cruel and vindictive. I didn't reply, and honestly the only reason I don't have her blocked is in case my dad is taken ill suddenly. But now my dad is saying it's caused issues at home because Lucy is finally grasping that Laura is the one who wouldn't allow her to have a relationship with dad's side and is now apparently pretty mad about it. He's saying the way I went at Laura was inappropriate in front of a child and that Lucy shouldn't have heard all that, but I think she only heard it because her mother was retconning reality. I didn't mean to cause an issue between Lucy and Laura, but honestly I do feel like Laura was asking for it by acting like an idiot in front of someone who knew the whole story. Edit, just to clarify, no, my dad's family didn't immediately forgive him. For a long time they only invited him to things if he brought me during his custody time. But time heals most things. They all still think he's a prick, but honestly I'm sure they thought that before. No, they haven't totally cut him out because we're just not that kind of family. But Laura was never family to start with, so it's way easier to never make her acquaintance than to cut out your blood relative that you've known for 40 years. I think that's fairly obvious. I am not mad that Laura set the boundary she did, and I'm not mad my parents got divorced. I got mad that Laura set a totally fair boundary that my dad went along with, not saying he's blameless, he's just not the one actively complaining and then tried to pretend that the consequences of said boundary shouldn't have happened. If you don't want your kid around people who don't like you, understandable, why are you whining that they're not around for your kid? Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. I sincerely hope Lucy starts asking to go see them without her controlling, home-wrecking, selfish mom. ETA, obviously the dad has the most blame here for the affair and wrecking the family. I had no idea a quick response would raise an army of people thinking I'm a massive misogynist because I didn't include something so obvious. Laura is trying to use a relationship with her daughter as her way to legitimize the relationship and weasel her way into acceptance by her husband's family. That didn't work. She is actively screwing her daughter out of financial support because she's mad her plot didn't work. If dad hadn't been so spineless, he would have told Laura that instead of letting his daughter think her bio-grandparents hate her and then hefting mad at OP when she dissolved the illusion. Commenter 2, NTA. She's 13 and it's better she knows her mom was the issue and not her child's self. I wouldn't be surprised if she starts asking you for hard truths going forward because her mom spins shit, so she's always the victim. I assume Lucy knows her mom was an affair partner initially. Can't imagine the fantasy her mom spun about them being destined, and nothing, not even a wedding ring, could stop their love. Face with rolling eyes. It sucks the rest of the family cut her loose to avoid her mother. She's innocent and too many kids end up ostracized with this kind of thing when they should have just saved the rage and freeze out for the actual guilty parties. Reply, I honestly couldn't answer this. I barely see Lucy and Laura. I presume she does. I remember I threatened to tell her when I was like 14, but I never did. But obviously she was way younger then. She probably knows now. Reply commenter 2, she really might not know. Laura might have omitted to save face. And she has no contact with the family, so if you didn't, and your cousin didn't during the one visit and her parents didn't, don't be shocked if she comes to you someday for answers. Just be kind when you tell her the truth and do it in person, cause she's gonna flip out at 13. If she asks you one day, I hope she's older. Or your dad will nut up and tell her. Commenter 3, NTA, you told her the truth and she is now dealing with the fallout of her actions. Your grandparents are allowed to have a boundary about who they want at their house or around them. And your stepmom is allowed to not like it and keep her kid away from them. But she isn't allowed to rewrite reality to fit her narrative. Your dad is also a problem. He should have shut her down when she started talking about his parents in front of his children but didn't. You standing up for your grandparents when she is bad-mouthing them is understandable. I feel bad for your sister because of her mom, she doesn't know a lot of her family. Hopefully, her finally knowing why she doesn't know them, she will be able to talk her dad into taking her to see them without her mom. Reply: yeah, this is how I feel. I don't begrudge Lara her boundary, a lot of mothers have that boundary I think. But it has to be a boundary and not an attempt at blackmail. They just took her at her word. Reply commenter 3. She is allowed to have that boundary, just like your grandparents can have their boundary. She isn't allowed to place all the blame on your grandparents when she is also contributing to your sister not being able to see them. You were well within your rights to tell the truth about what was going on. If your dad had shut your stepmother down when she started her rant, then you wouldn't have had to say anything and your sister wouldn't know anything. Update: I told my dad's affair partner it's her fault her kid doesn't have grandparents. First thing that happened, Lara would not stop texting me. Not like constantly, but once or twice a day about her feelings or demanding a conversation. This middle-aged woman having a crash out via WhatsApp was not on my bingo card, but eventually I just had to tell her I don't want to block her because I do want to be there for my dad in an emergency, but I was going to if she didn't stop bothering me. More crash out material. I called my dad and told him to get his household under control because this was getting crazy. I wasn't going to apologize to her, and in my whole life I've never had as much contact with this woman as I had in the past week, and I wouldn't allow it to continue. My dad was kind of getting that it was an actual issue now, and I pushed him a bit and the dam broke. So the wider context I was not aware of is that Lucy is only now putting the pieces together of how Dad and Lara got together. She vaguely knew about the affair, but I guess she's finally getting what that means now that she's older and how much damage it did, and she's been asking a lot of hard questions about it and has been really down about it. That's probably why Lara was so triggered by the mention of my grandparents and in a rush to put her spin on it. But since the dinner, Lucy has really been raking Lara over the coals for it apparently, because she knows my dad would have let her see the extended family were it not for Lara. My dad also shared that Lara basically feels like she's spent a large chunk of her life being punished for the affair and it's weighing on her because of how hard Lucy is taking it. Side note, a lot of people were rightly roasting my dad for the affair, but if the above should prove anything, it's how much he is definition of a cockroach. The way this man manages to get away with diabolical behavior relatively unscathed is shocking. The second thing that my dad said, and uncharacteristically admitted was a fuck up, was telling Lara that probably part of the reason no one ever eased up on meeting her was because they all knew I can't stand her. And I hold my hands up because I did a lot of bad-mouthing Lara back in the day to my grandparents and aunts because, well, I don't like her, and when you're a teenager you think that needs to be everyone's problem. I don't think this is as big a reason they still won't meet her as my dad probably made it seem, but he did admit he threw me under the bus for it ages ago and Lara has never forgotten it. She thinks me poisoning the well is the whole problem. So that's probably got a lot to do with her complaining at me specifically. My dad did acknowledge that it was a mistake to tell her what was said, and while I wouldn't go around talking bad about Lara now, I don't feel bad about sharing my feelings with my family at the time. I did ask my dad if Lucy was going to be allowed contact with the grandparents, but Lara is still saying no, but he said she's close to cracking just because of how much of a hard time Lucy is giving her, so he's going to wait it out. In the meantime, I haven't heard from Lara in a couple of days now, which is what I mainly wanted from the situation. What else to put in this update? If anyone had any lingering questions feel free to ask, but if not, thanks for the advice. Comments. Commenter 1. I feel for Lucy, but Lara made her own bed. Too bad, she's making Lucy lie in it. Live your best life. I don't think you did anything wrong. Commenter 2. Something similar happened in my family too. My dad left my mom for another woman and then they had a child years later, my half-sister. My half-sister was completely unaware as to why our dad and my mom got divorced and asked me one day, and I finally broke down and told her after years of her asking because she wasn't at an age where it was appropriate before. My stepmom freaked out and couldn't handle being outed, and now my dad's entire family isn't allowed to speak to me anymore. Reply. That crazy that your family cut you off for outing undeniable facts. Were they thinking your half-sister would just never find out? Why are people always doing things and then living in shame and fear of the truth? You did the thing, if you're happy then just own it, my god. I'm sorry that happened to you though. Reply commenter 2. Yeah, they straight up told her that my parents' marriage just didn't work out and she was wondering why my wedding was so awkward and why we didn't have a lot of co-parenting events like birthday parties where all the parents showed up. She had been asking me for years, sometimes in front of her mom and our dad, and I didn't feel like it was my place to tell her, especially to their faces, lol. Reply. Oh, that's wild. Despite the affair my parents did have co-parenting stuff, like my dad would always come to my birthday dinners with my mom and stepdad and school events etc. Once I found out about the affair I look back on it and think my mother is a saint for doing all that, but they were always super cordial. Laura and Lucy never came to that stuff though, so I guess that made things easier. But yeah, I don't think I could have coped with being the one to let that cat out of the bag. Haha, I'm glad her mother told her. Reply commenter 2. My stepmom was a super gaslighter, so I guess better to come from someone who would tell the truth. She would constantly separate my half-sister from the rest of the family by saying no one appreciated my half-sister because she was more emotionally intelligent and that my mom kept me away, so I was more of a novelty when I came around, and that's why people paid more attention to me when I was around. Girl, no, it was because you told my dad's family that now that you had a child it was me or her. LOL. I can't imagine the spin she put on the whole situation to make me look like the bad guy this time. Reply. Oh, the telltale signs of something I won't name because I don't like to diagnose strangers. She's setting her kid up for failure by presenting her as superior as well. My dad used to do the same thing to me, and despite therapy I still can see how that mindset affects my behavior today. I'm sorry for you though, it sounds like you really picked the short straw with the AP being a master manipulator. At least my dad is married to a relative idiot. Reply commenter 2. I'm sorry for you too, dads who think with their dicks are a breed all their own for sure. Reply. They really are. My best friend has like 5 half-siblings from his dad's 3 wives, all of whom are troublemakers. The drama never ends with men like that. Reply commenter 2. Is your best friend my best friend? Super similar situation. My best friend's dad, ironically my dad's best friend, is a notorious womanizer who's on his either 4th or 5th marriage, and we cringe every time she gets a message from 23andMe or whatever DNA testing site she did and it says you have a new DNA match relative. Because it almost always means what we think it means. LOL. Reply. Where are we all getting the bad luck to be surrounded by these men? My friend is always like, guess I have to invite my dad and his basketball team, unless there's another custody dispute. Do people not know about condoms? I can't. Stories number 12. I 27F just found out my husband 28M saw his ex-girlfriend the night before he proposed to me. Is there any chance this is a completely innocent situation? I've sort of been going through it this week, and everyone in my life is telling me different things, so I thought I'd come on here and ask you guys. So my husband and I got married 3 months ago. We've been together for 3 years and now I just feel like everything has gone down the drain. We got into a fight a week ago over practically nothing. It was a stupid fight, we were both really stressed all day because of a personal issue, and it sort of just compounded right before we went to bed and we just started yelling at each other. As we were fighting, my husband just sort of yelled that ex-girlfriend's name was right and he shouldn't have rushed into marriage. I stopped dead in my tracks. It felt like a bucket of cold water had just been poured on top of me. He immediately stopped talking, it was so silent, my body was shaking. I ran out of the room and locked myself in the spare bedroom for the night. The next morning, I found him in the kitchen, and he looked like he hadn't slept a wink. I felt bad, momentarily, until I remembered what he said. He ended up confessing that the night before he proposed to me, he had gotten a text from his ex-girlfriend saying she needed to talk to him. He showed me his phone and there the text was. Her asking, practically begging, to see him, and him agreeing. He explained that she had just been broken up with, apparently this guy was horrible to her and she thought that my husband would be the only person to understand. And they had gotten to talking, and he had told her he was going to propose to me tomorrow, to which apparently she began asking questions about me, about our relationship, stuff he just began willingly divulging, and then she told him that he was rushing into marriage. According to him, although I have no way to validate any of this, he got up and left, and hasn't talked to her since. He reassured me that last night he was just stressed, he didn't mean it, and that there is not a day that goes by that he doesn't feel like the luckiest man in the world. He was crying, begging me not to leave him. Things have been tense ever since then. He seems to be overcompensating, or at least he's overdoing it because he feels like that's what I want. I don't know what I want. I don't even know how to begin to process this. TLDR, husband admitted during a fight that he saw his ex the night before proposing. She told him he was rushing into marriage. He now says he regrets bringing it up and still wants our marriage. I feel totally blindsided and don't know what to do. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm curious, did he ever apologize for not telling you sooner that he went to see her? Reply, he apologized after he told me everything that happened, not specifically that he didn't tell me sooner, he just sort of kept apologizing for going to see her over and over again. He also apologized specifically that he threw it back in my face the night prior. I think he sort of was inferring to the whole situation in a way, but he didn't specifically say the words, I'm sorry for not telling you sooner. I'm not sure if it matters, but yeah. Commenter 1, does it matter to you that he didn't tell you about it sooner? Reply, yes, it does. We've been married for 3 months and we got engaged 2 months before that. 5 months feels like a long time to me to keep this hidden. When I said I'm not sure that it matters, I was more saying I'm not sure if the exact wording he used matters, not that I don't care that he didn't tell me sooner. Commenter 2, that's an unprintable bell. It's not even so much that he saw her and didn't say anything, for me, that could have been fine. It's that he's clearly been hearing her words in his head the entire time you've been married. He went into your marriage with doubt and didn't think you two, supposedly a partnership, should even get to have a conversation about that. That's the deal breaker for me. Commenter 3, how can anyone get past this type of betrayal? When he yelled that at you about her and that he agreed he should have never married you, it would have been the end for me. He told you he regrets marrying you. How can that not always be in the back of your mind going forward? Commenter 4, I think you two would benefit from couples therapy. He lashed out in anger to hurt you. I understand he immediately regretted it, but he also ended up exposing a lie he hid. He broke your trust seeing her and not mentioning it to you. Did he have a last fling with her? I'd have more questions I'd want answers to. He owes you a genuine apology and changed behavior. Update. Okay, so I just want to say first that I am appreciative of everyone for giving me solid advice, or at least the people who tried to. It's been an interesting couple of days, but things are looking up. He's been sleeping in the spare room since the argument, but we've had a couple conversations and have come to a conclusion. We have a counseling session booked in for next week, and until then we have decided to keep our distance, as in separate bedrooms. Thank you to everyone who recommended counseling. For some reason my brain completely forgot that was an option. I want to give him time before we go to our first appointment to really think about what he wants. He kept saying that he didn't mean what he said, but I need to be sure of that before proceeding. If, on the off chance, he truly believes what his ex said, then I need him to come to that conclusion himself, because I don't think I could take it if I knew he was staying with me because of pride and not because he loves me. We're going on a date tomorrow night. He's taking me to the restaurant we went to on our first date, and he seemed excited when he told me, so I guess that's good. I am excited to have some normalcy return to our marriage, so I hope that maybe it's a turning point. As for his ex, to give some context I didn't give in the last post, my husband met her at a bar, not at her apartment or a hotel room. Apparently she looked distraught, or at least like she had been in a bad situation for a while. And I do empathize. I don't want any woman to be in a relationship that is abusive, or emotionally draining. I do believe that my husband didn't cheat on me, and I know many of you might think I'm being naive about it, but I know my husband. Or at least I think I do. I asked him why he said it if he didn't mean it, and he said he's not sure, which is concerning to me, so I hope he can figure it out in time for the counseling session and we can unpack it. I love my husband and I know he loves me, so while my anxiety is through the roof right now, I hope we can sort this out because I can't imagine a world where he and I aren't together. Top comments. Commenter 1, even with this framing, I don't know if that makes it worse. You say that she was heartbroken and distraught from her previous relationship, and your husband thought it was appropriate to not only reveal that he went to see her before your engagement but also use that distress as an information weapon against you as a means to hurt you and your feelings. Is he the one taking the steps to set up counseling? Is he the one doing the work to rebuild trust here? It's good that you're being conscious, keep doing that and being realistic. Commenter 2, I understand not wanting to walk out because of this. You've put 3 years into this relationship, you're married, and your lives are entwined in so many ways. People here will judge you for fighting for this, but it's completely understandable that you want to. What I want you not to forget is how you felt when he said those words. I don't want you to forget how you felt that entire night locked in that room. I don't want you to forget the anxiety you are feeling right now. And I don't want you to forget that your husband deliberately said one of the most hurtful things you could say to a partner when having a stupid fight about nothing. He could have said anything, and he went far below the belt. If those are the verbal punches he throws when you're fighting about nothing of consequence, what is he going to say when you're fighting for something of very real consequence? Commenter 3, I'm pretty sure I know exactly why he said it. He was mad and he wanted to hurt your feelings, and that was the best ammunition he had to do it. When you do the counseling, if you guys decide that you do want to work through this and fix the relationship, healthy communication is gonna need to be a huge focal point. He needs to learn how to talk through a disagreement without taking shots at you. Stories number 13. Wibta, if I kick my boyfriend's sister out our house. I 25F have been with my boyfriend 27M for 3 years and he moved in with me last year. Everything was going great until last Christmas when his parents announced they were selling the family home and downsizing, but they wanted to go on one of those 6-month-long cruises around the world. Fine, whatever, they can do what they want, except they have a younger daughter, Emma, who is 18. Completely unbeknownst to me, my boyfriend had agreed to let Emma live with us until she moved away to uni. This led to a lot of fights between my boyfriend and I because I didn't want Emma living with us. Despite all this, she moved in after the house sold in February. It has been hell. For starters, our house might have 3 bedrooms but only one was used as a bedroom. One is my home and the other was a home gym for me and my boyfriend. Emma turned the gym into her room and now a lot of our equipment is in storage. I hate having Emma here as she's a total brat and doesn't contribute anything to the house. Here is just a small list of shit I have to deal with. The second Emma turned 18 she was out with friends, coming back drunk at 3 a.m. and waking up my dogs as she clattered into the house, normally with an equally drunk friend. For the first month of her living with us she would steal my stuff constantly. Skincare, hair care, perfume, clothes. Anything. I now have a lockable box for toiletries so she can't get to them. Has lost 6 different sets of house keys since moving in and I've had to have the lock changed twice due to various issues. Refuses to do anything I ask her to do because she's busy as she doesn't have a job. How is she busy? Refuses to eat anything I cook and will demand we order takeaway instead. I have asked her repeatedly for meals ideas and even if I make that exact meal, she refuses to eat it as it doesn't taste right. The breaking point came last weekend when me, my boyfriend and the dogs went away for the weekend. I was reluctant to leave Emma in the house by herself but my boyfriend said it would be a great way for Emma to gain some independence before going to uni. Big fucking mistake. We came back in Sunday evening to a trashed house and a hangover Emma asleep in her room. I had to get a professional cleaner in on Monday to tackle the worst of the mess after I spent half the night cleaning. I'm done. I want her out the house. I thought I could deal with this until she moved away in September but I can't, especially now that she's talking about putting her place on hold for a year so she can go traveling and use our house as a base. No, I want her gone and out ASAP. True, she has nowhere to go as her parents aren't back from their cruise until the end of August but I don't care. I want her gone. I've talked to my boyfriend about this and he won't budge because Emma is family and he can't kick her out. So whipta if I kick her out. Edit. Forgot to mention this in the maybe it wasn't clear. It's my house. I own it outright with no mortgage and my boyfriend is not on any official documents. The only thing in his name is our Sky TV payments. Everything else is in my name as I lived here before he moved in. He does pay half towards bills but he just sends the money to me each month. I'm going to try and talk to Emma and boyfriend's parents. I've sent them a text message asking to call me ASAP. I'm also reaching out to Emma and my boyfriend's older sister to see if she will take Emma in for a while. I doubt she will as they don't get along and she has a 2-year-old but it's worth a shot. Edit 2, I am such a goddamn idiot. Firstly, thanks to all of the comments I have realized that my boyfriend is not the person I want to be spending the rest of my life with. Secondly, I managed to have a video call with my boyfriend's parents and wow, just wow. First of all, they have been sending Emma £700 a month to cover her living with US and I haven't seen a penny of it. Their mum mentioned that I could take the cleaner fee out of Emma's money and I asked what money she meant because Emma doesn't have a job. She laughed and said the £700 we send Emma each month to cover all her expenses while she lives with you. They've been sending Emma money and she was supposed to be giving this money to us to cover everything. Either Emma has been keeping it or she's given it to my boyfriend and he hasn't said a word. Surprisingly her parents were furious that I haven't seen any of this money and they are sending me a bank transfer of £4,200 to cover the money Emma should have been giving us since February. They are sending it to my personal account then I can do with what I see fit. I was brutally honest on the call and said that I can't have Emma staying with us any longer. Yes, she might leave in September but what if she doesn't get the results she needs for uni and has to defer or if she takes a gap year? I'm not putting up with this for another year. Their mum is going to talk to her sister and see if Emma can stay there until they get back at the end of August. For those wondering, yes they have a house all lined up for when they return. They will not be living with us when they get back. I'm going to have a serious talk with my boyfriend this evening and I'm now rethinking our whole relationship. If he tries to fight over Emma staying then it's over. A lot of the comments in this post have made me realize that I've been a doormat to this man since Emma moved and also that I should have been charging him rent and I'm not standing for it anymore. Wish me luck helpful Reddit folks, wish me luck. Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. It's your house. I would have kicked them both out the second I found out he said it was okay without ever talking to you. 18 is old enough to know better. She's also not your problem, she is his problem. I would be seriously reconsidering this family and marriage long term as boundaries don't seem to exist to begin with. Commenter 2, NTA. But I think you need to kick the boyfriend out with her. He doesn't respect you at all. Commenter 3. NTA I would kick them both out before they bring their parents too. Remember that their parents sold their house and used their money to take a cruise. Just where they going to stay when they get back? Hint, you've got 3 bedrooms and a manipulative BF. Update, Wibta if I kick my boyfriend's sister out of our house. Emma and my boyfriend Tom for this update both left last week and went to stay with their aunt. Emma is staying there until her parents are back. Tom was staying there for a week to give me space. Tom came round on Saturday evening so we could talk about our relationship and everything. Long story short, I broke up with him. Reading all the comments made me realize that I've been walked all over by him and his sister for too long. Enough was enough. He's been back and forth over the last few days to get his stuff and I think he's staying at a friend's house while he looks for a place to rent. Obviously I'm sad about the breakup because I did think I'd spend the rest of my life with Tom, but this whole situation has made me realize that I need to be selfish and put myself first for once in my life. As for Emma, she's on a strict curfew and money will be sent to her aunt to cover her expenses. Her aunt has said she's on a 3-strike policy, but, to be honest, I don't care anymore. Emma is not my responsibility and never actually should have been. The money Emma and Tom's parents sent to me has been used in 2 parts, covering all expenses Emma racked up like the cleaning bill etc. A very nice spa trip for me. Some friends are coming with me and we all can't wait. My parents are going to look after the dogs. I've booked myself a full body massage and a champagne afternoon tea, so yeah, that's the update. I'm now single and have my house back. Honestly, I couldn't be happier despite the breakup. Thanks to everyone who left comments and helped me find my backbone. Stories number 14. AITA for telling my coworker in front of everyone after she kept calling me lazy, even though I've been doing half her work. I finally snapped today, and honestly, I'm still shaking from it. I'm 28F, been working at this small office for 3 years. It's not a huge team, about 10 of us total. For the past year, I've been paired on most projects with my coworker 32F. At first, she was fine to work with, but over the last several months, she's been slipping, a lot. She misses deadlines, forgets to complete parts of her tasks, and somehow those things always land on my desk. I didn't mind picking up some of her slack because I'm naturally faster at certain things. Then it became constant, like I was quietly doing half her job just to keep our team from looking bad. What really got under my skin was the way she started talking about me. Out of nowhere, she began making these jokes in front of people about how I barely work or how I always have time to help because I'm never busy. I'd laugh it off awkwardly at first, thinking she'd get bored of it, but nope, she doubled down. Some of these comments were in front of our boss. Others were in casual office chatter. And the worst part? I could tell some coworkers were starting to believe it. I didn't say anything earlier because I hate office drama, and I figured confronting her would just make things tense. But the more I keep quiet, the more she keep pushing it. Today, during our morning meeting, she was assigned a task. She immediately turned to me, smirked, and said, "Maybe you can handle this one, you're not too busy, something in me just broke." I said, loud enough for the whole room, "I've been doing half your work for months while you sit on Facebook, so don't you dare call me lazy." Silence. Every single person stopped moving. Her face went bright red, and she muttered something about me being dramatic before avoiding eye contact for the rest of the meeting. Our boss didn't say a word. Later, one coworker pulled me aside and said I shouldn't have embarrassed her like that, that it wasn't professional and I should have handled it privately. I know calling her out publicly was harsh, but I also feel like if I'd pulled her aside again, nothing would have changed. She was making me look bad in front of everyone. Shouldn't I be allowed to defend myself the same way? AITA for telling her off in front of the whole office after she wouldn't stop calling me lazy, even though I've been doing half her work. Comments. Commenter 1. I don't blame you at all. If she kept calling you lazy in front of everyone, it's fair you defended yourself in the same space. Private talks only work if the other person's actually willing to stop, and she clearly wasn't. Reply. I tried talking to her before, but she just wouldn't stop. Commenter 2. NTA wow, where was that same coworker defending you or the other was talking down about you? You had every right to defend yourself and demand she pull her weight, so you are not doing her work. Stories number 15. AITA for messaging the husband of my husband's affair partner. I found out my husband of nearly 20 years is cheating, for the second time. I know, fool me once and all that, but needless to say my blood will not stop boiling. We are getting divorced. I just had this hunch that the affair partner was also married. Something about my husband's comments about her didn't add up. Since he was too checked out to even bother with a burner phone, it took about 5 minutes with the phone bill and 10 minutes of Googling to find an email address for her husband. I'm not on FB, so probably would have been faster if I was. I sent him an email and within 5 minutes my husband was texting me asking what I had done. Saying I destroyed a family today. All I can say is I wish someone would have told me the first time he cheated so I wouldn't have hung out with the woman and been friendly. This guy is in a similar situation as he and my husband know each other. I actually sent the email from a burner email address and didn't out my husband in case I was wrong somehow, but it's clear to me based on my husband's comments that the AP named him. The AP swears she's been trying to end things with her husband and he won't listen. Maybe that's true, but it's also possible she's totally playing my husband and hasn't said anything to hers. AP's husband wants to talk to me and I'll probably call him. So am I the asshole for telling my husband's AP's husband about the affair? Did I destroy a family? Should I have just kept my mouth shut? Should I not speak to him? My boiling blood may be clouding my judgment. Edited to add, I honestly can't believe how many people have taken the time to read this. Thank you all for your replies. I really appreciate the laughs, thoughtful insights and personal stories people shared. Sum of comments. Commenter. Well, all I can say is that the AP's husband would have appreciated knowing this happened versus not knowing. Reply, that's what I thought too. I know I would have, and I say that from experience. Commenter. If she was trying to end it with her husband, then you didn't destroy a family, you merely assisted her in the process of ending it with him. Truly though, NTA. The cheaters ruined their relationships, not you. Telling the truth equals the bad behavior cheating. Reply, that's why I think my husband is getting played. I'll be curious to hear the other side, and if she was truly trying to end it. Commenter, one of the top commenters. Funny how your dickhead husband didn't give a shit about your family. The only reason he's concerned about hers is because he's not gonna keep getting laid now. He can dry hump a cactus into the sunset. Reply, LOL, thank you for that. Commenter, the golden rule basically says do as you be done by, and you said you wish someone had told you back when. Therefore, you did right by the man. I agree wholeheartedly, BTW, for the same reasons. Your STBX husband and his AP destroyed their own families. If your husband tries to blame you again, refuse to accept it by either stating plainly, I don't accept that you and she are solely to blame, or simply by laughing hysterically in his face. I recommend the latter, wishing you healing, peace, and future happiness, OP. Reply, thank you, I like the way you stated that, I don't accept that, you and she are solely to blame. I plan to use it. Update post. On to the update. The day after my original email to the AP's husband, he and I talked on the phone. He was shocked to learn about the affair, poor guy. I could tell he was struggling, as he wanted to believe all the lies she had told him and was desperate to believe they hadn't had sex, like she told him they hadn't. My husband says the same, but given the fact that he's a proven liar, I didn't believe it for a second. AP's husband said he was worried for his kids. He explained he was embarrassed as my husband and he are part of the same circle. I said I could relate with my first experience of infidelity. He was grateful to me for reaching out, and thanked me. After that conversation my husband texted me upset that I had revealed his prior affair and that I only did it to hurt him because it is, of course, all about him. I explained that the conversation I had with this guy had nothing to do with him. When I mentioned the prior affair, I mentioned in the context of relatable life experience. I honestly thought it wouldn't be a secret between cheaters anyway, but I guess the AP wasn't happy to learn about it. I know, shocker, cheaters cheat. I guess she thought she was special. At this point my husband was still sleeping at the house. I woke up the next day feeling like I couldn't breathe. It ended up being a full-blown panic attack, which only stopped after I started screaming at my husband, saying he needed to leave the house. He is officially not living here anymore and will be packing up the rest of his stuff during an upcoming weekend away that I have planned with friends. I am very sad and very angry, but I'm starting to feel like I can breathe again. Sorry to disappoint so many that wanted me to meet him in person and sleep with him. All of those comments made me laugh. That would have made for a much more exciting update. If anything else noteworthy happens, I'll post another update. One of comments. Commenter, how did your husband know what was said in the call between you and the AP's husband? Reply, the husband told the affair partner many of the details and she went straight back to my husband. Like a sick game of telephone. Stories number 16. AITA for rearranging the seats at my daughter's class get-together because I didn't want a reoccurrence of an accident that happened the last time with some kids been left out. My daughter 16 has been planning a little end of summer gathering for about 2 weeks. She's been so proud of doing it herself, choosing the decorations, playlist, snacks, everything. I was really rooting for her on the whole way. The day before the party, she had all the chairs lined up in one long row around a big table. It looked awesome, but I couldn't stop reminiscing about a similar get-together she had last year. At that one of her quieter friends ended up wedged between two of the loudest kids, barely spoke all night, and left early looking miserable. This year, she's invited a new girl who just moved to town, and I instantly pictured her sitting there, smiling politely while everyone else talked over her. While my daughter was out with friends, I rearranged the seating into smaller clusters, 2 cafe-style tables, a few chairs under the string lights, and some big floor cushions under the trees. My thought was that people could drift around, break into smaller conversations, and no one would get stuck in an awkward spot. When she came home, she stared at the backyard and just said, "Why did you change everything?" I explained my reasoning, but she said I had ruined her vision and that I always had to make things my way. She wasn't yelling, she just looked disappointed, which honestly hurt more. I tried to make her understand that I was thinking about her guests and wanting everyone to feel included, but she said it wasn't my job to pre-solve social situations and that if someone felt left out they could figure it out themselves. Now she's barely speaking to me, and I keep wondering if I crossed the line between helping and overstepping. AITA for changing the setup without asking because I didn't want some guest to feel invisible. Comments. Commenter 1. YTA. If you want to be helpful, talk to her about your concerns. Express your opinion, listen to her opinion, and ultimately leave the final decision to her. That is what helping looks like. What you did is what we in the business call taking over. Commenter 2. YTA. Yes, you definitely overstepped. This was her party to host, one that she's worked really hard on. You didn't help. Helping would be making a suggestion, or having a discussion. Instead, you just took over. Your daughter is 16. She's still learning. She will not learn by you stepping in and taking over. Your intentions were good. Your execution was terrible. You should apologize for making changes without discussing them with her first. Commenter 3. YTA. Your daughter is 16, you had the time to discuss it with her, and you did not, you just did what you wanted, based on nothing but assumptions. Side note, I will say too, have you considered that them quiet kids may not mind just sitting there quietly? And even if they do have a problem with it, perhaps it could be a life lesson to assert themselves, rather than have an adult come in, without being asked to, trying to solve the issue which, again, may not even exist. Presumably they're the same age as your daughter, they'll be adults soon, you don't need to run around trying to smooth things over for them because you feel a certain way about it, because you interpret what happened last time a certain way. I guess I just said what your daughter said, which is a good thing for her, but you need to reflect on why your daughter was able to communicate her feelings so well and you were not, which may be a pattern of behavior, if her saying that you always make things your way is true. Stories number 17. Advice on coming back from my wife's affair and pregnancy. 43M40F. I 43M have been with my wife 40 for 22 years. We have 2 sons together, 17 and 16, and our 17-year-old is having a baby. I know it's young, so please no comments on that. I love my small happy family. I've been out of work, I was in an accident and bedridden for weeks. So my wife was working more. Sex was pretty much non-existent. Actually completely non-existent. 2 weeks ago, my wife had a medical issue, a miscarriage. Ob told us it was early, my wife said she wasn't even aware she was pregnant. I hadn't had sex with my wife during this time frame and put 2 and 2 together. She confessed, she was apologetic, more than apologetic, she was a mess. Crying and screaming, begging for forgiveness, told me he made her feel beautiful and young again. The guy was 25, that she let her fantasies of something new get the best of her. She's been apologizing since I found out. I immediately asked her to leave. She went to stay with her sister for a few days. When she came back we talked about it again, she was still a mess, profusely crying, calling herself horrible names. I told her it was going to be okay, we were going to make it work. It's been horrible, I resent everything little thing she does. She asked me if maybe therapy would help, it infuriated me that she did this and now she's suggesting therapy. Along with that, she's grieving the loss of a child she had with another man. I have no clue how to help. I am devastated, sleeping in my room alone, making her sleep in the guest bedroom. I love my wife, I love my small family, I can't imagine throwing away 22 years like she seemed to be so willing to do. I don't know how I will be able to sleep next to her, or make love again without thinking about this man. Thinking about these years she was willing to throw away. I want to so badly, I want it to work so badly, I do not want to end my marriage. My heart's never been so shattered, she was my first serious girlfriend, now I can barely stand to look at her. Has anyone been in a similar situation as this? And overcame it? Looking for advice. Comments. Commenter 1. I agreed to individual and couples counseling when my fiancé cheated. After a few sessions, I told him it wasn't going to work and I was done. It did give me peace that I knew I made the right decision. That may not be the choice of what's best for you, but I'd suggest exploring the options. Commenter 2. What would have happened had she not miscarried? This the question you need to sit with. Commenter 3. It's not just about the sex. It's about the fact that she was selfish and callous when you were going through a hard time. Marriage is not just about forsaking all others, it's about being there for each other in good times and bad. She failed you on both fronts. I am so sorry that you're going through this. Stories number 18. My 20F boyfriend's 19M sister 25F is obsessed with him. My boyfriend and I have been dating for a little over 3 years now. He has one sister that is 25 years old. This sister I feel is a little obsessed with my boyfriend, her brother. I was blinded by it at the first of our relationship, and just gradually over the last year it's really been showing more and more. She will do things such as call him over and over 5 to 6 times in a row, along with like 5 to 6 texts if he doesn't answer his phone. We will be doing things like hanging out with friends or being on a date, and she will do this just to see what he is doing. Anytime we do go somewhere she has to know where he is going, what he is doing, who he will be with, what time he will be home, etc. A couple weeks ago she came into his room while we were laying in bed watching a show and referred to him as my love, but just to tell him his phone was going to die. My love, your phone is going to die. And then on another occasion she came into his room and like pet his chest, his shirt was off as she was sitting down. Super unnecessary. She had his location and she would watch it like a hawk 24/7, she would sometimes just show up to where we would be without saying anything before coming. I have a sister that we occasionally hang out with, and while hanging out with her my boyfriend will get texts from either his sister or her boyfriend saying thanks for cheating on us or thanks for the invite, just really immature stuff like that. Last Thursday, we were driving home from the store and she and her boyfriend conveniently showed up on the same road at the same time, and when we ignored them driving next to us it made her mad, so they sped past us and she flipped us off out the window. My boyfriend started a new job back in April which made him extremely exhausted and tired, so he didn't really talk to her or anyone else, which made her freak out thinking he was so mad at her, and went and complained to their mom about it, which then resulted in the mom asking me about it like I had something to do with it. I didn't. I've expressed my concerns to my boyfriend and he has seen the problem but has a rough time saying anything to her because then she will get overdramatic and again freak out. He just recently stopped sharing his location with her and she is pissed about it and keeps requesting his location. On the 4th of July my boyfriend had gotten really drunk, so I drove him home, and the second we walked into the house she was quick to run out of the bathroom and take over taking care of him, even though I had it and am perfectly capable of taking care of him. I just feel like she feels threatened and is low-key obsessed with her younger brother, and I don't know what to do. There is many other things that happen that I could never fit into this whole paragraph. Advice? Added comments. Are they blood relatives? Reply. Yes, they are blood relatives 100%. Commenter. How does your boyfriend feel about her behavior? In general, does his sister have her own life? I mean, does she have a job, her own apartment? She should be focusing on her own life and not her brother. Reply. He just says that she has always been like this. He just tells me he will create boundaries, but I think he is scared to make her mad. She is a nurse and engaged to a boyfriend of 8 years. She still lives at home with him and their parents. Commenter. I don't think there will be any boundaries until one of them moves out. Why is he afraid of his sister? Are the parents aware or are they totally oblivious? Reply. I think he is just scared to make her mad or something, I'm not exactly sure. He doesn't like talking about this subject since it usually leads to an argument. Their mom told my boyfriend we need to get along, but I'm not ever rude, I just don't talk to her anymore. Commenter. Wow. That's a lot. Very odd of her to be so obsessed. At least he turned off his location. I wonder what her BF really thinks of it all. Reply. I don't think her boyfriend sees the problem since he will take act in some of the things she does. He also had my boyfriend's location, but it was just recently stopped being shared a couple of days ago. Commenter. What does your boyfriend have to say about all of this? Hey, I think we need to sit down and talk about setting some boundaries with your sister. It's obvious that she doesn't respect me or our relationship. How would a talk like that go with him? Reply. He says boundaries will be set, but then an opportunity arises to get a said boundary and he doesn't do it. Update. First off, the good news, we're still together, and now we're engaged. Back in October, shortly after my original post, his sister finally moved out. That was amazing, and things calmed down for a while. Honestly, I've blocked out some of what happened, but there are a few major events I remember clearly. At the beginning of this year, my fiancé and I were looking to buy a house about 35 to 45 minutes from our hometown. When we told his parents, his mom completely shut down and was obviously upset. She tried to list every reason why we shouldn't do it, but I had answers for everything. Still, she acted like a child for days, barely talking, and when she did, it was to criticize the idea. In the end, we didn't buy the house, partly due to her lack of support and partly for work-related reasons. Things stayed relatively calm for a couple more months, aside from the usual requests for his location. My fiancé and I have had many long, serious talks about his family, and we've chosen each other every time. He sees the issues now and has cut his sister off. Since we still live with his parents until our wedding next year, he'll say hello if she's around, but that's it. The final straw happened in April. Around 1 a.m. on a Friday night, I started getting multiple no-caller ID calls. I didn't answer at first, but then my fiancé started getting them too, so we picked up. On the line were a couple of girls claiming they had been with my fiancé the night before and the week before, sleeping with him. They were trying to convince me he was cheating. I knew immediately it was a lie. We recognized the voice. It was his sister and one of her friends. They called 15 to 20 times, kept changing their story, and couldn't keep the details straight. We finally confronted them by name and told them to stop. I was furious and got on the phone, telling her, "This is why we don't talk to you anymore. You need to grow up, you're almost 30. My fiancé told his parents about the prank calls, but they denied she would ever do something like that. A few days later, she admitted it to him, laughed it off, and called it a joke. She didn't care and never apologized. That was the moment he completely cut her off. His mom didn't help matters. She ended up yelling at my fiancé, saying I was the new variable ruining the family. Then, at the end of April, it was his sister's birthday. We had already decided not to attend the family dinner because it was also my mom's birthday, and we were going to her celebration instead. During my mom's dinner, his mom sent him multiple texts saying she was disappointed and that he broke her heart by not choosing her. When he didn't respond, his dad texted, "When you come home, don't bring your woman with you." My fiancé went home to talk to them while I stayed at my parents' house. In the front yard, his dad lectured him about how blood is thicker than water and no one should come before your blood family. My fiancé asked if his mom came first in his dad's life, and his dad said no, which honestly blew my mind. Fast forward to June, his mom insisted we have a face-to-face family meeting. It was awful. I confronted his sister directly, but she had nothing to say, so most of the conversation ended up being between me and her fiancé. My fiancé did defend me, so I wasn't entirely on my own. Since that day, there's been no further drama. His sister remains cut off from our lives. We're happy, we're planning to move out as soon as possible, and we're looking forward to our wedding. Stories number 19. AITA for cutting off my family over my brother refusing to do simple paperwork. I 26F honestly feel like I'm at my breaking point and need some outside perspective because I'm either going crazy or just finally waking up. Growing up, my brother 24M was always the golden child. He got to do everything I wasn't allowed to. He had freedom, friends, he could go out, date, live like a normal teenager. Meanwhile, I wasn't allowed any of that. If I even questioned it, I'd get the "he's a boy, it's different" response. That excuse was drilled into me for years, and I'm still resentful of how much I missed out on just because of that double standard. For context, we are Balkan Muslims and this is pretty common for us women to not get treated the same as our male relatives. Now I'm married with a child of my own. I live an hour away from my parents, and while I don't mind helping them here and there, I've got a household, a job, and a toddler to take care of. Lately, they've been needing more help with bills, paperwork, appointments, organizing their estate, and guess who's been handling all of that? Me. Not the son who lives with them rent-free with his GF and has all the free time in the world. It's become too much and I told my parents I can't keep doing everything, and they need to start asking their son to step up. They weren't happy, but for about a week, things were quiet. I wasn't getting flooded with texts and calls. I thought they were finally listening and my brother finally grew up. This past weekend I went to visit and immediately saw a giant pile of paperwork, unopened mail, and bills scattered on the table. I asked what was going on and why it was all untouched. They told me they'd asked my brother to take care of it and he kept saying he'd get to it. I asked where he was, and surprise. He was out with his friends. My parents asked me to do it and I said no, and we were going to wait until he came home and he was going to do it. No more excuses. An hour later, he walks in, doesn't even greet me, just says, "Have you done mom and dad's paperwork yet?" I looked at him and said, "No, this is your job now. You live here, you handle it." He starts whining that I'm better at organizing, I know what gets paid when, I can translate things better, I know where everything goes. I told him I don't care. I have my own life and family to take care of, and it's not my responsibility to keep doing everything just because no one ever taught him how to be an adult. He got mad and things escalated. He started yelling, insulting me, and at one point picked up a binder full of documents and threw them at me and it hit my head. I just stared at him and waited for my parents to say something, to defend me, to check him for that behavior and for throwing a binder at me. Instead, they looked at me and said it's my fault and I started it and I should have just shut up and done the paperwork like always. I snapped. I started yelling at them all, saying everything I've bottled up for years. I told them that they raised a spoiled, lazy man-child who can't do a basic task and will throw them into a nursing home the first change he gets. I told them I was done being the one who carries all the weight while he gets to live carefree. I grabbed my things and told them I couldn't stand this family anymore and I hated them all. As I was walking out, they said if I left and refused to help, they would have nothing to do with me. I said fine. I left and haven't spoken to them since. Now they're blowing up my phone. First asking for help. My brother saying he doesn't know where the checkbooks are, how to write a check, who's my mom and dad's doctor, insurance, etc. When they saw I wasn't responding the text they got nasty. They began calling me selfish, heartless, and cruel. My dad left a voicemail wishing that I would get cancer in my stomach. He said this in our native language and this is the best way I could translate it to make it make sense. That broke my heart. They've said some horrible things to me but that was way too far. They even dragged my aunt into it, who's now telling me I should be ashamed of myself for how I spoke to my parents and for refusing to help them and that God will punish me. At this point I've gone completely no contact, but I can't lie, I feel guilty even though I know I was pushed beyond my limit. Edit. Hi again. I wanted to clarify a few things that came up. Someone said I was the for not teaching my family how to do anything. That's just not true. I've spent hours trying to teach my parents how to access bills online, sign checks, etc. They always struggled to remember, which really just means they didn't care to learn. I even tried teaching my brother, but he always had plans or wasn't in the mood. I tried. Mother is 50 and father is 65. As for religion, please don't confuse culture with Islam. My parents picked and chose what Islamic values suited them, which is unfortunately very common especially in the Balkans. Islam actually holds women in a very high standards. It's culture that messed everything up. For example, I wasn't allowed to date or have fun because I'd shame the family, and I had to marry a Balkan Muslim. But my brother dated whoever he wanted, including non-Muslim women. My husband wasn't even allowed to sleep in the guest room at our house when we got engaged and slept in hotels until I finally snapped on my parents for that. Yet my brother's girlfriend basically moved in day one and no one blinked. I've been the translator and basically the family employee since I was 10. I've filled out every form, made every call, done everything for my parents, and it just never stopped. I blame myself for this as I should have put my foot down years ago. My husband doesn't like my family and hates my brother. That hatred really cemented when my water broke at 30 weeks and I was in the hospital crying and having a legit mental breakdown thinking I failed my baby. My lovely brother showed up and told me that I must have done something stupid and broke my water myself. My husband dragged him out, and my brother wasn't allowed back. Right now, my husband only knows there was a screaming match and I decided to cut everyone off. He doesn't know the full story because if he did, I know exactly what he'd do, and I'm not trying to go down that road. I know they'll probably show up at some point. I'm mentally preparing for it. Who knows what they'll do at that point? I've mentioned that I would like to move closer to my in-laws, and my husband is on board with that idea. He also talked to me about starting therapy. We were reading the messages and comments together and we both realized I was severely emotionally abused. Thank you all for your kind word and support. I truly appreciate you all. It's just sad that internet strangers have shown me more kindness and love than my own family has in years. I will update if anything happens. Much love to you all. Edit 2. I forgot to mention I told my husband what my brother did to me. As you can imagine, he is furious and wanted to head over there tonight and but I won't let him stoop to his level. I am now worried about them showing up here and causing a commotion as that is the type of people they are. Update, AITA for cutting off my family over my brother refusing to do simple paperwork. TW, abuse. After I went no contact, the calls didn't stop. My phone was blowing up constantly. Then my dad decided to try to call my husband directly. He acted like absolutely nothing happened, all cheerful and casual, as if my brother hadn't just thrown a binder at me over a week ago. I guess my dad thought my husband didn't know what happened. My husband cut him off and told him he knows exactly what happened, and that if my brother ever bothers me again or so much as steps foot on our property, it won't be pretty. Let's just say the conversation ended very quickly after that. A few days later, my uncle and aunt decided to randomly drop by our house unannounced to talk things out. My husband went outside before I even had a chance to react. He absolutely chewed them out, telling them that if helping my parents is so important to them, they should go do it themselves instead of harassing us. They left pretty fast after that. An hour after they left, my parents showed up. My husband did not allow them inside, but they stood at my door yelling at me, saying how disappointed they were in me and how I was disrespectful for talking about family issues with my husband. They called me horrible names that I can't even repeat here. I finally snapped and told them I want nothing to do with them anymore and this would be the last time we speak. They kept going, but I refused to participate in the conversation any longer, and they eventually left after my husband threatened to call the police. When they left I completely broke down. The things my parents said were vile and cruel. I don't know what I did to deserve this kind of treatment. I expect that kind of behavior from my in-laws, not my parents. Sad truth is, my MIL has been a better and more loving mother to me than my own mom ever has, and that hurts in a way I can't even explain. This happened a few days ago, and since then I've blocked my parents, brother, my uncle, and my aunt. A few other family members have tried reaching out but the moment I see they're defending my parents, I block them too. I just can't deal with it anymore and I have my own family to worry about. We've decided we'll be moving closer to my in-laws this winter, and no one will know except close friends and family we can trust not to run back to my parents. My first therapy session is scheduled for next week as well. When I opened up fully to my husband and our close friends about my childhood, the look on their faces made me sick. They explained to me that what I went through was not normal and that no parent should ever treat their child the way mine treated me. Emotional abuse wasn't the only kind of abuse I experienced. I won't outright say it, but let's just say that when I was in trouble as a kid, my parents would make me go outside, pick a branch from a tree, cut it, and bring it to them. You can probably guess the rest. This was constant and not the only thing. My childhood was deeply messed up, and I'm only truly realizing the extent of it now. I'm not doing well at the moment, but I'm thankful I have my husband and friends to support me. I really hope therapy will help me heal, but I know it will take a long time. Right now, it feels like I'm just floating in darkness. I can't comprehend why my parents hate me so much. I did everything they ever wanted, even if it compromised my own happiness. It still wasn't enough for them. To everyone who's commented or messaged me, thank you. You've shown me more kindness and compassion than my own family ever has. I wish every single one of you nothing but love and happiness. I hope this is the first and last time I have to update on this situation. Much love to you all. Stories number 20. AITA for refusing to let my coworker use my personal project to impress our boss. So I 25M work in a mid-sized company where most of us are pretty chill, but we're all under pressure to show initiative because there's talk of promotions soon. Over the last couple months, I've been working on a side project at home. It's basically a dashboard tool that organizes some of our team's data way faster than the clunky software we're stuck with. I never promised it to the company, it was more of a for-learning project that I happened to mention casually at lunch one day. One of my coworkers 29F immediately lit up and asked if she could demo it during her upcoming presentation to our boss. She said it would look good for the whole team and might open doors for both of us. Here's the thing, I don't feel comfortable with that. The tool isn't fully finished, I'm not ready to share it, and honestly, it feels wrong that she wants to put her name on something I spent my nights and weekends building. I told her I'd rather not have it shown around yet. She got visibly annoyed and said I was being selfish and holding back the team. A couple other coworkers gave me side eyes like I was hoarding credit. Now I feel weird, like maybe I am making it about me when it could help everyone, but at the same time, it's my project. Nobody asked me to do it. Nobody offered to help build it. And if I just hand it over, won't that set the precedent that my work is free for anyone to use for their own shine? So AITA for not letting her present something I made outside of work hours, even if it might have benefited the team. Stories number 21. I, 28M, wrote a song. My girlfriend, 28F, listened to it without knowing I created it, and called it trash. When she found out I created it, she got extremely mad at me, so let me start off by saying that I know this was slightly manipulative. I deceived her my omission, and it speaks volumes about my communication skills. I understand that, and I actually feel really guilty about it, but here's what happened. My girlfriend is very critical about music. I make music on my own, but I never felt like she ever gave me real criticism of my music, despite me pleading with her to give me something blunt and real. She always said it was great, and never had anything to say about it. But when she would critique other music, she would get extremely detailed with it, critiquing music down to the very last detail. I really admire her thoughts on music, and all I really wanted was for her to do that for my music as well. But she would always just say it was great without saying much else, and I never believed her due to the stark differences in how she would frame these opinions. So one day, I had her listen to some music, without telling her it was mine. I just said, "Hey, check out this track," without saying it was mine. She went in. She said it was the work of someone who had no idea what they were doing. The composition was all over the place, and it didn't flow together. Sections of the song were much too long, there was a rise without a climax, and she said it was all around just a boring song. When I told her it was my song, she got really, extremely upset. She said I was an asshole for lying to her, I manipulated her, and that she can never trust me again. She took a bunch of things and stayed at her parents' house last night. I feel terrible, but at the same time, I also feel a bit vindicated. Also, I feel like she's overreacting. I don't really know where to go from here, because I don't want to lie to her about how I feel about what I did. Feel sort of bad, but then again not really. Did I do the right thing? TLDR, I let my girlfriend listen to a song I created, unknowingly. She hated it, but when I told her I made it, she melted down, and left. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Regardless of the specifics, she very clearly told you I don't want to do this thing, and you tricked her into doing the thing she clearly told you she didn't want to do. If you want to get it all mixed up in feelings around music criticism, that's your business, but the plain facts are as above. And people are allowed to feel that's it, not cool to and not have their own decisions about what they don't want to do, be respected and be tricked by someone they trusted. If the vindication about her opinion is worth doing and be to her, then I guess it was worth it and you'll just need to live with the fallout from it. Reply. She didn't tell me she didn't want to critique my music. While I agree with most people here that I did something manipulative, and I feel horrible about it, I think it highlights a bigger issue of communication in this relationship. I value blunt honesty, and she knows this about me, yet continued to placate me and tell me it's great with no real comment. I felt that was condescending. I totally regret not grilling her on this kind of thing, but I didn't think it was fair for me to force her to tell me something she obviously didn't want to tell me, but I also don't think it's fair that she kept lying to me, telling me that my music is great when I have to manipulate her into admitting she was lying the whole time. This was a breakdown in communication in a huge way, and while neither of us are saints, I don't believe I was the only bad guy in this situation. Commenter 2. 1. I hope you don't feel bad. She's your girlfriend, not someone who's expected to love everything you create. You do appreciate her criticism and she gave it to you. You should be glad if you respect her opinion. Apologize for manipulating her and thank her for her honest feedback. Let her know that her opinion of your song does not hurt your feelings, and then in the future, you don't have to play games like that to get her opinion. Good luck. Reply. I really do appreciate the actual opinion she gave me, but I lost respect for her as a person, just because I frankly feel infantilized by her desire to lie to me in order to protect my feelings when I was bluntly trying to tell her that I really want her real, blunt opinions on my music. Commenter 3. Good people don't enjoy insulting or hurting their partners. It's not fun, it's painful. If you so is anything like me, then critiquing the creative work of someone you love as bad is the same as insulting that person. It's taking something she knows you worked hard on and telling you your effort was worthless. That is not an enjoyable experience. It's painful and it's extremely unkind of you to put her in the position. She wants to keep your relationship positive. You've ruined that and it will be very hard for her to forgive you for that. Update. TLDR at the bottom, because I know one will be needed. I didn't get a whole lot of well-wishing words for me on my last post. Most people felt that I was manipulative, took away her agency of choice by deceiving her, and that I deserved to have my relationship fall apart. Well, you guys were right. You win. She hadn't officially broken up with me, but I could tell the relationship had been in its final stages. Long story short, the day after I wrote my post, i.e. the day I responded to most of the comments. A few hours later, I called her, told her to stay at her mom's place, that we were fundamentally incompatible, and that this obviously wasn't going to work out. I wanted to provide some background to our relationship, to clarify what I believe to be a few misunderstandings in the responses to my previous post. I had been asking her for a long time to provide me with honest critique to my music. I've approached her before about why her answers are so vague and placate why when it comes to my music. I told her I can obviously see the contrast between that, and how she critiques all music, whether she likes it or not. She outright denied that she was just placating me, and that there's nothing to worry about, and all my music is great, and that I'm being crazy about it. The last time her and I talked about this, I was not subtle in my communication. I directly told her that I would value her critiques and take it to heart, whether the critique was positive or negative. I just really wanted her opinion, particularly considering that she's been a primary inspiration to some of my best work. I had made it clear that I really just didn't want to be placated, because music is so important to me, and the same goes for her, and I'm not in it to get people to suck me off and tell me how great I am. I want to be the best possible musician I can be. And I also feel incredibly disrespected by being placated, like I'm some child who can't take criticism. I've never given anyone, let alone her, reason to believe that I would need placation. Beyond this, she still denied it all, but I could tell it was pretty much BS, and it was driving me crazy. So months and months later, I've gotten nowhere with communicating with her, and I still have the nagging suspicion, to the point where I'm not even asking her opinion anymore, because it just makes me mad. A few days ago, it just popped in my mind like it was no big deal, to play her one of my, pretty meh emo, but still had pretty okay responses from the general public songs. Basically just throw away instrumental I did when I was bored, and kinda dug it at the time. And I didn't tell her it was me. We finished listening, and I asked her what she thought of that tune. She goes off on it, basically hating it. See, my previous post. I said, okay, thanks so much, I'm so glad I could finally get it out of you, I agree with a lot of what you said. She goes, wait, that's your song. I said, yeah, it's an old one, and she gets mad and says, what the fuck? And we get into an argument about it. She thinks I went out of my way to manipulate her, like it was sociopathic and premeditated. I'm telling her, it's not even that big of a deal, why were you lying to me in the first place? And she said, because I just don't like your music. Are you happy? And we continue to fight. It escalated to the point where we started swearing, so she said, you know what? I don't need this, and walked out. She's been there ever since. Fast forward to the breakup conversation. She said she felt guilty about not liking my music for 2 reasons. One, because she thinks it was fucked up that she simply didn't like her SO's art, and she was ashamed of that. The other reason is that, a lot of the time, she feels like she doesn't know what she's talking about, and didn't want to rip my music apart like she does with most songs, because she could totally be wrong, and then she'd be an asshole. I was really upset by this. I feel like I called her out on her lying months ago, and she kept lying to me, instead of just saying that. I tried so hard to tell her months ago, that it's okay if she doesn't like it, but she just clammed up, thinking I was going to fly off the handle and end our relationship over it. After months and months of telling her that I didn't want to be placated, she kept trying to placate me, and wouldn't communicate the real reasons. How am I supposed to expect her to be an adult and communicate what she really feels, instead of lying to avert imagined conflict when we have relationship issues in the future? Music is such a huge and important piece of our lives together, and this situation probably wouldn't have gotten to where it is if it weren't. It may seem silly to those of you on the outside that what appears to be just a stupid, petty argument lead to the complete breakdown of a relationship. And now I'm just left confused, and lonely. She was also my best friend in the entire world, and there's a void inside of me, and a voice telling me I'm making a huge mistake. And I'm confused, and pulled in multiple directions. Thanks for taking the time read this. TLDR, she admitted to placating me, despite me making it painfully clear that I didn't want to be placated. Instead of communicating the real and somewhat valid reason she didn't want to critique my music, she continued to lie and make me think I was crazy for seeing right through all the no, it's great. The breakdown in communication has royally pissed me off, and makes me feel condescended to, but at the same time I love her, and want to work on this. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. She communicated with you the first time, in a way to stop you from asking her about it again, and instead of taking her at her word, you then passively aggressively manipulated her into yet another conversation about it. She shouldn't have to provide you with her entire thought process in order for you to believe that she means what she says the first time. The breakdown in communication has to do with you not respecting her comments the first time. It literally doesn't matter what her opinions on your music are or how that relates to you, she made it clear that she didn't really want to talk about it, and instead of taking that at face value you manipulated her into giving a different response because of what you wanted. Look, dude. There are plenty of ways to get critique and validation for your music. Why did you feel that manipulating someone you love into doing it when they clearly didn't want to one of those ways? This is not what listening to music is about, and it's not a good communication tactic in a relationship either. She placated you to avoid conflict for both of you, but you manipulated her for your own validation. To me, that sounds selfish. Reply: she didn't communicate anything with me. She made me feel crazy for seeing past the everything is great facade when it wasn't. She actively hid her feelings from me, when I made it expressly clear to me how much I don't appreciate being placated, because it shows a lack of respect and trust for me, and it's condescending. One last comment from OOP, replying to a comment chain. That's your unfortunate perspective. Her dishonesty came from a place of keeping the peace. That doesn't make it okay, especially if I've never given a reason to think I would disrupt the peace, and was very clear about that. Your dishonesty came from a place of self-serving vindication. I think it's more simple than that. It came from a place of uncovering a lie. Do you guys pile on like this when someone snoops through a phone to find out their partner's cheating? Do those people get hundreds of comments calling them names like a couple have done to me here, and making character assaults over it? Or do they tell them to take screenshots and keep them for later? You could have just broken up with her. I did. I knew she was repeatedly lying for my face for months, and I uncovered it, and broke up with her. And I'm getting zero sympathy here for it, for reasons that simply aren't making too much sense. Lying is perfectly okay when she does it because she was uncomfortable, conflict averse, or whatever, but when I do something to uncover a lie, something everyone here can agree that it's not cool to do in a relationship, I'm manipulative, deceitful, stupid, an idiot, etc. Nobody here is catching on to the double standard except for the 2 to 3 people who messaged me in support, afraid to get piled on by the karma train. Reply: OP's GF did not have any domain expertise. Yes, she does. She's a professional in our local music community. Stories number 22. My partner 42M has the dreaded man flu again, and accused me 36F of being a cold-hearted bee. Whenever he gets a minor cold, no fever, just a runny nose, he acts like it's the end of the world. He gets sick frequently, and I have caught a flu off him several times over the 12 years we've been together. Today, I was making us breakfast and he walked into the kitchen and started an argument over the fact I'm not babying him enough. He said when he was growing up his mom always took such good care of him when he's ill, then followed it up with, "But I know you're not my mother." I told him I'm just the kind of person that doesn't let a common cold debilitate me, and I keep going unless I'm fully unable to and have to stay in bed. He wouldn't let me speak at points and kept shouting over me, at one point saying, "If this is how you treat me, how would you deal with a child who is sick?" This stung, because we are trying for a baby. I was shocked and replied, "Are you trying to say I would be a bad mother?" And reminded him that he is not a child. So I'm not going to treat him like one. I also pointed out how he seems well enough to engage in an argument. I'm standing here making him breakfast, did the laundry, did the dishes, done the grocery shopping. I'm taking care of the home whilst working a full-time job. What more does he want from me? I don't know how to baby someone with a cold. I checked his forehead last night, no fever. He then refused to have the breakfast I was making. My question is, what form of babying would a man want in this situation? I really don't know how to do it. Update: thanks for all the feedback, some of the comments were truly helpful and have given me perspective. I even appreciate the negative ones. We are no longer trying for a baby. And I'm not sure where to go from here with regards to the relationship. We had a conversation, and are no longer speaking. He insists I'm the devil, and ignored every point I made. I came home from work and the baby is currently hiding under the covers in the bedroom doing the fake sleep. You couldn't make it up. I haven't heard a single sniffle or sneeze, no tissues by his bed. I'm pretty sure he's cured. Oh, and it happens to be our 13-year anniversary today. Stories number 23. You owe it to your sister who's married and niece. OOP has frustrations with her in-laws, whom she and her husband are no contact for over 9 years due to repeated boundary violations. In-laws have been attempting to solicit money and gifts from people, including OOP, her family, and acquaintances, under the guise of dorm shower for their granddaughter. Request includes a staggering $100,000 for dorm fees and expensive items from a registry with high prices. Despite the in-laws' well-off financial situation, they target OOP's elderly relatives for contributions. After receiving series of unwanted communications, including unsolicited calls and voicemails demanding money, OOP reaffirms her commitment on her no contact with in-laws, even with harassment going on. Update. OOP updated on the ongoing no contact stance with in-laws, particularly regarding absurd $100,000 request for her niece's dorm fees and gifts. Despite blocking calls and Google Voice, OOP still received dozens of calls from unfamiliar numbers, which she suspects from her MIL supporters. She consulted with a lawyer, but legally, there's not much that can be done to stop the harassment. In-laws attempt to rent a church banquet room for a dorm shower, despite not being current members or stewards of the church. MIL is trying to bend rules, from requesting discounts based on outdated membership to attempting to bring her own food and liquor, and even planning to charge entry and run a cash bar for profit. The church is firm on its policies. Update 2. Background. My in-laws, both MIL's and FIL's sides, are incredibly large, conservative, and really don't like progress or change. They believe in keeping people in their place and how things should be. They also operate like a hive. If one hates you, then most of them will hate you and they will come after you with a Bible-thumping vengeance. MIL's wealthiest brother hasn't been heard from since the early 90s. A son who they discovered was gay. They disowned him. Same wealthy brother has another son who got secretly married to a woman who had a child from a previous relationship, and they disowned him as well because he married someone who had a child. Oh, the scandal and the irony. Jesus, ringing any bells? I remember MIL was fully supporting her brother and his stupidity. As far as I know, the second son hasn't been seen or heard from since the mid-90s. All that to say, they will not accept or open their hearts to anything that they disagree with, regardless of relationship or familial bond. Mill is her brother's biggest supporter or instigating enabler depending on how you look at it. Guests and registries. A longtime friend was invited to the dorm shower. She is a friend of mine and my husband's and an acquaintance of SIL and my in-laws. We all went to grade and high school together and she shares the same culture and speaks the same language as my in-laws. She was also one of the many people the in-laws harassed trying to get our phone numbers. She and a few other invitees were debating on going to the dorm shower because on more than one occasion SIL and her family have shown up to their events empty-handed, with extra not invited people, and often without RSVPing. So they decided to return the favor by bringing uninvited guests, eating and drinking their fill, and only giving niece a dollar store, not Hallmark, card signed by all of them filled with nothing but their well wishes, which is still far more than what SIL had brought them to their traditional gift-giving events. Being the good and exceptionally thorough friend that she is, she said that more stuff had been added to the registries, some even at slightly lower price points but still very pricey in her opinion, like a $40 single spatula, and shockingly most of the stuff requested on the registry had been bought the last time she checked. I guess this dorm shower is now a thing. I just can't even wrap my mind around crap like that. Leading up to the party, they were scrambling, I'm guessing, to find tables, chairs, tents and catering. Everything is very last minute with them. Party rental places exist for exactly this reason. They even had the nerve to leave a message on my parents' answering machine asking if they could borrow their tables, chairs, and pop-up tents. My parents haven't had contact with any of you for over 8 years. So, no, you may not borrow their stuff. They couldn't be bothered to call and check on my mom when she was diagnosed with cancer and going through treatment, but for niece's party they remembered their phone number. Priorities, I guess. Confused face, middle finger. Did I mention? My parents ignored them. My dad also started very intentional timing doing some minor repairs on the church hall, as well as setting up the HVAC cleaning, carpet cleaning, and dance floor polishing during and after the week of niece's party. The church hall will be unavailable till mid-August. Catering. My brother has been in the restaurant business for over 30 years. He currently owns a few food trucks that have a popular following as well as a catering kitchen. I don't think my in-laws know about my brother owning the food catering business because they left a message and wanted to inquire about them for a party without mentioning him directly. Knowing them, if they knew, they'd try and get it for free because family. MIL has a very distinct voice, there is no mistaking it, and my brother knew right away it was her. Just to paint a picture of MIL, do you remember Herman Munster from the show The Munsters? Picture a tall, permanently surprised-looking bad plastic surgery, probably used a coupon, female version with the same hairstyle of Herman Munster who acts and talks like a ditzy helpless confused baby while using a weird baby voice and tries to manipulate everyone around her. She has a master's degree in education. My brother is not only uncle to my children but he's also their godfather. He's very protective of them and is fully aware of the fuckery we've been put through. So my brother calls me and asks me, what do I want him to do? I tell him to do whatever he wants. I'm not going to take money out of his pocket, but I warn him that she will delay paying the bill and complain constantly. so make sure she pays up front before you remove a single tray from the truck, and she specifically signs verifying full delivery so she doesn't pretend she was shorted. Food pictures and video would be a must, and as a bonus, I would get a peek at the dorm shower. What? I'm curious and reporting for Reddit. Face with monocle totally justifiable. My brother had his partner return the call on speaker phone, and I'm muted but listening in on my brother's phone. MIL wants the food trucks to show up at SIL's house, park on the street or the lawn, and have the invited guests buy their food. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with a plan like that? Surely all the other people living on the block would be thrilled to have their neighborhood packed with people, noise, and overrun by cars and food trucks in a very limited parking area on a weekend with no prior warning. Not to mention, they're throwing a party with the expectation of expensive gifts, and they can't be bothered to actually properly host. I can't even begin to understand how to tell your invited guests that they need to buy their own food at your party. Like, thanks for the $400 coffee maker that you purchased for a completely made-up dorm shower, and if you're hungry, you can buy yourself a kebab dinner from the food truck on the corner for $15, drinks sold separately. Don't forget to tip, because I don't want it to look like I invited a bunch of cheapskates to my party. Okie dokie. Super terrific plan there, Sparky. Idiots. My brother's partner says they can't do that, but they could cater and drop off pans of food either all at once or in intervals depending on the size of the order. The partner asks about how many people, what they're looking at in terms of menu, if they want them to provide cutlery and plates, basic stuff. By the way, when they were trying to book the church last post, they said over 200 people were expected. They only wanted to order enough food for 50 people. So what's the plan if everyone you invited shows up? Do you make them wrestle for their dinner? Last man standing gets a drumstick? Do you go around taking food off of people's plates? How do they make this make sense in their brains, and how can they not be embarrassed? I would be mortified. For real, what's the fucking plan? This type of stupidity makes my brain twitch. Moving on. They go over the terms, deposit amount, remainder due prior to them unloading and delivering the food. And just for funsies, he quoted them a price 25% more than what he would typically charge. MIL balks at the fact that they expect deposit upon signing the contract and payment before they hand over the prepared catered food she wanted to be billed after the fact. Lady, and I use that term loosely. You have a reputation, and they know you're an entitled grifting mooching clown. Musical notes, because I told them musical notes and I've seen your scam in action, so yeah, you need to pay in full. My brother made sure to call his many friends in the business, give MILs and SILs names, and warn them to get payment up front, upcharge, because they're going to demand a discount, and to expect issues if they cater to them. MIL said she'll call them back. She didn't. I wonder why. Change of location. According to both my friend and my husband's aunt, a few days before the party was supposed to happen, they sent out a text update on the location. Due to everyone wanting to support and celebrate niece, we are moving the location to Forest Preserve. Enter off of street name and follow the signs and balloons. My friend made a comment about them actually having some common sense for once, and at least there will be plenty of parking. Not a horrible plan. Until it was. Day of party. This is what my friend told me. I wasn't actually there. I took notes as we were talking. Party was supposed to start at around 3 p.m. and go until sundown when the preserve closes. My friend arrives at around 4-ish. She sees tents, tables, chairs, smells barbecue, music is bumping, tons of people, porta potties available and discreetly off to the side. It's so unexpectedly classy and put together, she's legitimately impressed. She parks, and starts walking towards the party area. Too bad that's not the dorm shower party. She realizes her mistake and finally finds the dorm shower. As she's walking into the actual dorm shower area, she sees other friends already leaving. They say bye and everyone keeps it rolling. She said that it looked like niece's dorm shower was set up with all the stuff that the other party rejected. There are multiple mismatched tables set up for the gifts and cards. What looked like a younger teen tween acting as a DJ and playing a variety of music that you could barely hear, both cultural and American, on a Bluetooth speaker. There is one much smaller uneven square table set up with a few bowls of uncovered chips and pretzels being circled by flies and gnats, plastic cups, napkins, and nothing else. My friend said that it looked like some people went out and bought their own food, McDonald's and Taco Bell, and were eating as she went around to say hello, but no actual buffet or barbecue or any type of indication that they would be setting up for one. There were multiple kegs sitting under a tree in buckets of ice. There was no covered enclosures, tables, or available chairs. No bathrooms available except for the porta potties that had been rented and paid for by the other group, and apparently they made it crystal clear that they weren't going to share. My friend had gone to the party straight after work and was told to go elsewhere. My friend said that it looked like SAL just brought some chairs from her home for the older relatives and everyone else was either standing or sitting directly on the grass. Yup, sounds about right. No real food, no coverage from the blazing sun, no place to sit, no place to piss, but plenty of booze. Hydration is important, especially for the teens, and a place to collect presents. My friend didn't see nor was she offered any other food or drinks when she arrived. The in-law clan was there in full force and people had come in for this event. My friend said there was a decently large turnout. She didn't do an actual head count but thought it was about 150 people more or less, with people coming and going of family, adult, lots of school friends, and it looked like niece got a ton of gifts. My friend was waiting on the rest of her friends to make an appearance, say their hellos, and then they were going to probably leave because there wasn't food and they're not huge into drinking. In the meantime, Sil's husband shows up with the cake. They cut the cake and place teeny tiny 1-bite squares on napkins and hand those out. Nobody is getting diabetes on their watch. Then my in-laws grab a megaphone and made a speech of how proud they are, yada yada. Then niece's parents made a speech and told her how proud they are, yada yada, deserved the world, yada yada, and that they bought her a house. Y'all, they bought her a fucking house. I think we just solved the mystery request for $100,000 in dorm fees and the luxurious dorm shower registry. And some of you called it. Don't I feel stupid now? I worked and actually earned every property I've ever owned. I didn't realize that all I had to do was call multiple people up, lie and ask for hundreds of thousands of dollars, tell them that I would be disappointed if they didn't cough up their life savings and they owed it to me. Welp, live and learn. I'll be sure to pass that bit of genius mixed with entitlement and a little spattering of narcissistic extortion onto my own children. Seriously, WTF. Plus, on what planet is getting money from other people and buying your kid a house? You buying them a house? According to my friend, multiple people are recording this, pretty sure video of this is circulating somewhere. Niece didn't seem surprised about the house. And they now want niece to make a speech. Niece says some stuff about her life and future, thanked everyone for coming, and she wants to introduce the love of her life, her girlfriend, and she proceeded to hug and kiss her girlfriend in front of everyone. My friend said that my in-laws and the clan just sat there silent. She said they looked frozen while the school friends and some other guests clapped and cheered. Then something started happening with the clan, and Mil's rich brother got up along with his wife and adult children. They snatched stuff off the gift table and he started yelling at Mil in a mix of English and their native language, that he wants his money or all his money back or he's going to take the house or houses. My friend was trying to make it look like she wasn't paying attention, but she totally was. Something about him being a fool or being made a fool and something about lying. My friend caught parts of the conversation. Then in their native language he was saying something about using a vulgar descriptive slur word in their language. The lesbians were coming over and over as they were heading away from the party directly in front of my friend on their way towards the parking lot. I guess Mil got her parade of idiots after all. My friend is telling me what went down and all I could think about was Paul Revere's Midnight Ride, which shouldn't be funny, but I could just picture a sour-faced miserable old man grabbing gifts away from the table and warning anyone who would listen that the lesbians were coming. My friend said that Mil and Sil went chasing after him, but friend couldn't hear what was being said. It looked like uncle's son was also yelling at Mil and Sil. There was lots of yelling and pointing going on. The rest of the clan looked to be leaving, some took their gifts back while others just left. The other guests were just standing around awkwardly, not really knowing what to do. Niece and her girlfriend just went back to their group of friends. My friend said that niece didn't seem to care about what happened. She wasn't crying or visibly upset. My friend has no idea where Phil and niece's dad went. She didn't see them again after they gave their speeches. My friend was like, WTF just happened? She went to her car and called the group she was waiting on not to come, drove home, and called me with a full report. TLDR, to be clear, my perspective is love. Niece is living her truth and good for her. Mil, however, instigated and supported her brother cutting off his own children, and now her money train is pissed and I'm guessing there will be hell to pay. I don't think niece's parents or my in-laws knew that niece is a lesbian because I don't think they'd want it advertised, and I don't think they would have thrown a party that included very conservative relatives who they had gotten money from if they knew. Aunt, I called my husband's aunt and filled her in on what went down. She hadn't heard anything yet, but she said that Mil's brother and his son are control freaks that you don't want to piss off. Aunt wasn't surprised at their reactions. Context for the comment below. Aunt is a staunch LGBTQ+ supporter. Her sibling and 2 of her children identify as part of the LGBTQ+ community. This comment stems from a conversation she had with in-laws in the 90s. Take it as pure sarcasm. This conversation is one of the many reasons why her family went very low superficial contact with the in-laws. Aunt's husband and Mil's other brother refused to go completely no contact. Direct quote from Aunt, and picture it being said in a very New York accent. Aunt, in a very serious voice trying to suppress her laughter, said that he must been so scared that young lesbians are stronger and more powerful than the regular ones. He must think that they were gonna wrap him and his precious family up in flannel, take to Home Depot and teach how to build something. Not for nothing, that's how they get yous know. And before yous know it, yous the gay I told her about this post and sent her a link. And also married into this hot mess is a quick-witted hoot and has been living with this stupidity for way longer than I have. She gets it. Love you, Auntie. You're now on the Reddit. Aunt has promised a full report if she hears anything. She couldn't stop laughing over, the lesbians are coming, she said. I bets they are. Update 3. The NYC Aunt Chronicles. Favorite NYC Aunt got the scoop. Favorite NYC Aunt is married to one of MIL's brothers. Her husband has medical issues and requires extra care, so NYC Aunt facilitates contact for her husband with the in-law clan when it's necessary and relays information to her husband when requested. Rich uncle's wife called to give NYC Aunt and her family the news. To be clear, I didn't speak to anyone except NYC Aunt, and I'm just relaying the information she was given along with my brain fart commentary. Rich uncle landed in the hospital on Saturday late night, following the dorm shower, and is still admitted as of Tuesday mid-morning. Rich uncle's wife said that her husband had a stroke and he's doing very bad. They just wanted NYC Aunt and her husband to know and to pray for them. Rich uncle's son, a lawyer who works for his dad's company, said his father had a medical episode with severe dehydration, high blood pressure, and some issue with his insulin. I wonder if shade from the blazing sun, food, water, and no lesbians coming would have helped with that. A mystery I shall ponder till the end of my days. What we didn't know, according to Rich uncle's wife, who likes to gossip and apparently really loathes my MIL and SIL, who knew, but played nice because of her husband, said. Rich uncle paid for loan sale $500,000 to buy a townhouse near where niece was going to go to college. NYC and is unsure of the specifics and wanted to play it cool without asking too many questions. Rich uncle's wife said that sale needed money for extensive renovations and MIL put the screws on Rich uncle for more money. Rich uncle refused to give anything more, and that prompted MIL to try and extract money from other relatives for dorm fees. NYC Aunt confirmed to Rich uncle's wife that the MIL had asked her for $100,000 for dorm fees, and she NYC Aunt said no, absolutely not. Rich uncle's wife said that NYC Aunt was smart and she should save her money. The money they were trying to get out of my husband and NYC Aunt was supposedly going to go towards renovations and turning the basement of the townhouse into a built-in bunk dormitory type big bedroom with 2 extra bathrooms and a center lounge for the rest of SIL's kids for when they visit niece every weekend. Rich uncle's wife said that the MIL were just wasting other people's money. Exactly. Why is that anybody else's responsibility to fix up niece's house? Your house, your kids, your responsibility. MIL was supposed to stay with niece to get her settled in the beginning, and Rich uncle's wife thinks they closed on the townhouse in late June or early July. Exactly what niece was hoping for. I'm sure a deranged, geriatric, permanently surprised roommate and a house full of her siblings. Really sets the mood. Rich uncle's wife then goes on to give her version of the dorm shower. Rich uncle and his family weren't planning on going to the dorm shower, but for whatever reason MIL told Rich uncle and his wife that the dorm shower was actually a cover for a surprise party meant to honor Rich uncle. So everyone had to act like they were there for the dorm shower, and then the big reveal was that everyone was really there to honor Rich uncle and all that he does for the clan. That's probably why so many other further away living members of the clan came in for the dorm shower. So, to recap, they're obligating everyone to show up with expensive registry presents for niece, but really the party is for Rich uncle. Makes perfect logical sense, and the genius continues. Rich uncle's wife said that she and her family drove over 5 hours to get to the party. I guess they took the long way. The trip should only have taken about 3 hours. They pull up to the forest preserve and thought that the fancy tent and food setup was for his surprise party. They were pleased. Until they weren't. When they figured out that it wasn't for him and they saw the dorm shower set up, Rich uncle and his family were fuming at the disrespect, especially when they can look over and see how classy the other party was and what MIL could have done if they put forth any effort. They waited for the speeches to see if he would be honored then, but he definitely wasn't. According to Rich uncle's wife, they didn't even mention him or even thank him for making the house purchase possible. NGL, that would piss anybody off. Rich uncle's wife then said that niece gave a speech and niece said she is one of those and that goes against the will of God and she will be punished. I didn't realize that God outsourced the judgment position. I wonder if he found the in-laws on LinkedIn or did he post on Indeed? The benefit package and perks must be out of this world. These are the questions and thoughts that keep me up at night. Rich uncle's wife is also very, very upset. Apparently, in their haste to leave the dorm shower and warn the world that the lesbians were coming, Rich Uncle's wife said that they accidentally took the wrong gifts back when they were leaving and what they took was garbage. So, in essence, they robbed the dorm shower. I can't even with these people, and they stole stuff they can't even return. Even when they're trying to make a statement they manage to fuck it up, idiots on every level. NYC Aunt had to pretend that her husband was calling her in order to get off the phone and laugh her ass off at their stupidity. NYC Aunt said she'll call her back later to see how Rich Uncle is doing. NYC AUN thinks that Rich Uncle's tantrum from the last post was all the shit hitting the fan at once, with the end result being that Rich Uncle ended up in the hospital. And the cat plays with the mouse. NYC Aunt called Rich Uncle's son who was at the hospital with his dad to express concern and offer support if they need it. According to NYC AUNT, Rich Uncle's son is a very, I'm better and smarter than you type person. He said that his dad will be fine but needs to be watched so as not to have any more issues. Rich Uncle's son will be running things at the company for the foreseeable future. NYC Aunt casually mentioned that she spoke to his mom and his mom mentioned the dorm shower and what MIL and SAL did. NYC Aunt said she was so sorry that they were put through all that and his dad ended up in the hospital as a result. NYC Aunt said she could only imagine how incredibly embarrassing and disrespectful everything must have felt. NYC Aunt told him that she understands how horrible they MIL and SIL are. And after all the money Rich Uncle has given them throughout the years, it's just horrible. TSK their MIL and SIL so ungrateful and they shouldn't bite the hand that feeds them. Rich Uncle's favorite saying. NYC Aunt said she purposely laid it on thick. Rich Uncle's son said that the MIL and SIL aren't dealing with Rich Uncle anymore, they're going to be dealing with him and it's all going to stop. NYC Aunt said that Rich Uncle's son is now the head of the family and she NYC Aunt has always known him to be a fair and logical man, more like a know-it-all power-hungry douchebag, but she's not sharing that and he should do whatever is best to protect his sick father and family. His poor parents shouldn't be suffering like this. NYC Aunt said that she's always there for them if they need anything. NYC Aunt asked if Rich Uncle was up to talking. Unfortunately for us, he wasn't because he was eating breakfast. Thank you Auntie. TLDR, NYC Aunt was able to fill in some blanks in terms of the dorm shower and showed her support to the assholes so they feel comfortable and supported talking to her. Thankfully, Rich Uncle has never given NYC Aunt any type of money or help, so they have nothing to hold over NYC Aunt and her family. Relevant comment. OOP on if she has met her husband's family prior to going NC. Reply. I have only met Uncle a handful of times. He was an asshole and his wife was very cliquey with the woman in the family and I'm a different culture so they excluded me from the jump. My husband didn't grow up with them because Uncle and family were jet-setting around the world building his business. My husband tolerates his uncle and can't stand his cousin. We didn't kiss the ring and we didn't want anything from them so they kept it cool to hostile. He has no real reason to not go scorched earth, given what they did, and from what I hear he's given them millions. What Sale pulled with the party was a slap in the face. There's no excusing the lack of effort. There's no excusing or explaining or even spinning what went down. Auntie thinks that the fallout will be very bad. Update 4. NYC Aunt Chronicles Part 2. This post will not make sense without the context of the other very long posts. Just an FYI to not waste anyone's time. Apparently, my mother-in-law is cruising for a bruisin that NYC Aunt is going to happily supply. Background, MIL is an entitled, narcissistic, mooching grifter. She along with FIL and the rest of their children aside from my husband have this idea that the world must cater to them and bend to them because they so demand it. MIL was the baby in her wealthy family and she definitely shows it. She has wealthy older brothers who spoiled her. They continue to be very generous with her into their adult years, even more so than my father-in-law ever was or could even dream to be, and she knows that if she provides enough pressure, she'll end up getting whatever she's requesting. Example. If MIL's brothers were to buy jewelry for their wives or daughters, Mil would pitch a passive-aggressive fit until she and SAL were given comparable. I'm low-key surprised her brothers' wives haven't murdered her with all her requests, demands, and stupidity throughout the years. MIL is that level of demanding and annoying. MIL's brother aka Rich Uncle paid for a high-end kitchen remodel for MIL because my incompetent idiotic BAL doesn't have the common sense that God gave a goat. My husband's brother 30s at the time and living at home thought that because he watched a few HGTV shows that he was handy Andy and he would totally know how to do a gut to the studs remodel on MIL's kitchen. I mean, who wouldn't be an expert after a couple of shows? I hear that the training and book learning is nothing but a scam anyways. It's all about the on-the-job training. To his credit though, they were the hour-long episodes, so that made him a super-duper expert. So the idiot, in the middle of winter, started tearing out walls and beams guessing at what was load-bearing, causing the roof to shift in several areas. Let's not even mention the electrical fire. Long story short, he got tired, poor little 30-year-old baby, and couldn't go on. So his mommy whined to her rich brother, and 3 months later she has a new roof, vaulted ceilings, a showroom kitchen, and high-end appliances. I had to actually give her a tutorial on how to use her fancy new professional quality stove because she's not much of a cook and couldn't figure out all the knobs and doohickeys. All that to say, MIL is used to getting what she wants, and all she has to do to get it is whine and apply enough pressure. So a bunch of things happened that brings us to now. Thursday early afternoon I get a phone call from NYC Aunt and she says, "Why oh my name, Imaz gonna needs you to get this down. Get some paper, I'll waits." She's very New York, lovingly direct, and I adore her. NYC Aunt is married to one MIL's brothers. NYC Aunt's husband has medical issues that have led to NYC Aunt having complete legal control over her husband's health and his finances. MIL was made aware of that first post when she attempted to extract $100,000 from her brother via NYC Aunt for dorm fees, and she was promptly denied. Thursday morning NYC Aunt gets a call from MIL. Aunt thinks this will be interesting and grabs her tablet and hits record and then picks up the call. People, she recorded and played me the whole fucking conversation. I heard everything. First off, MIL's voice still makes my nerves tighten and the hair on my arms and the back of my neck stand up. I cannot stand that bitch. Sorry, back to the conversation. Typically, Aunt will say hello and MIL will say, I want to talk to her brother's name. No niceties, chit-chat, or common courtesy. MIL's MO is to be cold and dismissive. Like you don't have value to her and therefore are unworthy. I've been on the receiving end of her attitude on more than one occasion in the past and know it well. MIL is being suspiciously nice and using her baby voice. A. Grow the fuck up because you ain't fooling anybody, and B. WTF is wrong with you, were you dropped on your head as a child? Act normal, it's not that fucking hard. Alarm bells are going off in NYC Aunt's head and clearly MIL is fishing for something, Aunt just doesn't know for what. MIL is inquiring about NYC Aunt's children and their growing families, which she never does, asking how Aunt is holding up taking care of Uncle, asking how her summer is going, if they got niece's invitation to the dorm shower. And there it is. NYC Aunt keeps it cool, said fine to all the questions, and then asked how the dorm shower went. MIL said how wonderful it was and how much NYC Aunt and her family were missed. She went on to describe how the weather couldn't have been more perfect. Everyone and everything was perfect. I guess we have very different ideas about what constitutes something to be classified as perfect, because my friend who was actually there said that there was no real food, no coverage from the blazing sun, no place to sit, no place to piss, but plenty of booze. Hydration is important, especially for the teens, and a place to collect presents. So, your word of perfect is massively misleading there, princess. She then went on to say that Niece and her friends put on a play for everyone and how talented Niece and her friends are. What in the fuckity fuck? Niece's huge life announcement and the introduction of her partner were a play that they put on for entertainment. Bitch, are you fucking serious? How disrespectful, dismissive, delusional, insanely psychotic. I'm running out of adjectives here. What in the actual fucking hell is she trying to sell? That bitch is insane and needs to be throttled, there's no other way. Unfucking believable. Ridiculous on every level. Aunt said, oh really? How was the play? I bet everyone loved it. Who showed up from the family? MIL ignored the question about how the play went, but said so many people showed up, and MIL proceeded to name them all off. Yup, Auntie really needed to know that your hairdresser, who she's never met, and by the way should be fired given how you look, attended. Then she said how generous everyone was towards Niece. Rich uncle's wife admitted to jacking a bunch of gifts, so not as generous as it could have been, you stupid idiot. Then MIL casually drops in the fact that they haven't received NYC Aunt and Uncle's gift yet. NYC Aunt said that's to be expected, because Aunt didn't send anything. Wait for it, MIL in her surprised accusatory voice said, why not, you were invited, and here it is. Aunt in the calmest, most even and basic, no accent, voice I've ever heard her use, she's usually very animated when she talks, said, MIL's name remind me what you sent my children when they were going off to university. How about when they graduated? How about when they got married? Or when they had their children? Then she just waited for what felt like forever until MIL spoke. I thought that we got disconnected, that's how long she waited. MIL in her normal bitch voice said, can I talk to my brother? Aunt said he's not available, but I'll tell him you called. Oh, and by the way, how is your brother rich uncle doing? I heard he landed in a hospital and his son was going to be taking over the business. A parade of fuck you. That's right bitch, NYC Aunt knows all about what went down. She not only fucking played you, she also very much put you in your place. MIL disconnected the call. It took me a minute to process. Holy moly. I was laughing and screaming at the nerve of my idiot MIL. I had to have Auntie replay the whole conversation because I forgot that I was supposed to be writing it down. Thank you Auntie. Relevant comment. OOP on her MIL's family, 6 siblings in total. Reply, 1 MIL, 2 sister who's passed, 3 rich uncle, 4 Auntie's husband, 5 twin of rich uncle who's pretty wealthy but cheap, 6 other brother who is wealthy just not as much as the other 2.